Hey guys, Sean here. Welcome to the F1 Word and to Testing Live. Yes, it's that time of year. Once again, we sit here and talk nonsense for a couple of hours, and you guys seem to love it. So we'll keep doing it. Why not? I don't really know what to say about this test. It's a bit of a weird one. It's a bit of a shakedown rather than a proper official test, which is why we're only doing the 2-ish hour roundups at the end of each day. But we will be back for proper live streams, testing live streams for Bahrain. But we'll just enjoy a couple of hours here. Good evening or good afternoon, Charles. I'll come to you in just a second, mate. Let me breathe, dude. Always appreciate it. We'll come to Super Chats very, very shortly. Usual housekeeping and all of that out of the way first. No footage, obviously, because there is no footage for starters, but also for copyright reasons on top of that. Make sure you subscribe as well if you're new. Lots coming up over the next few weeks and months. Of course, season not far away. Please do drop a like on stream. If we get anywhere near 500, it'll be a miracle today, but please do, for Charles Edward Cheese, give him 500 likes. That'd be fantastic. All photos in the stream are provided by Motorsport Images. The live timing is from, it's not really timing, but leaderboard from Autosport and Motorsport.com, because the channel is, of course, powered by Motorsport Network. And I will have Dan from Racing Reviews and Stuart, aka Chamber, with me very, very shortly. Hope you're all good. How are you doing in the chat? How are we feeling about today? I know a lot of people are a bit miffed that it's not been shown, but to be honest, given the lack of real action, if we want to call it that, in testing, it's not really the end of the world, I don't think, for this one. The Bahrain one's the one that matters. So yeah, but I will give you the result from the morning's times. I'll move that green flag out of the way. But yes, Charles Leclerc topped the morning. So these are your morning session times with a 120.165 on the C3 tyre. That is the medium. 80 laps this morning. Sainz is in this afternoon for him. Lando Norris a 120.474 on the C3 as well. He did 50 laps. He's in the car this afternoon. Russell, 77 laps this afternoon at 120.784 C3 tyre for him as well. Lewis Hamilton is in for him this afternoon. Vettel in fourth place there, 52 laps. Of course, laps are the thing that really matter in testing rather than lap time, certainly at this stage of testing. So some good laps for Seb. Stroll's in for him this afternoon. Tsunoda is in all day. 44 laps this morning. C3 tyre, 121.638. Max Verstappen, off-track excursion at 1.122.246 C2 tyre, 80 laps for him. Alonso, 54 laps, 123.317. Contrary to what the timing screens were saying at the circuit, Alonso is in all day. Ocon is not in the car this afternoon, just to let you know. Nicholas Latifi, 8th place, 123.379 C3 for him, 66 laps. Albon's in this afternoon. Mazepin, 124.505 C2, 20 laps. Schumacher in this afternoon. Then Kubica, 125.909 C3 tyres and 9 laps. And Bottas is in this afternoon for him. So, yeah, and at the moment, only changes to that leaderboard. Hamilton up to 4th place, 121.032. I'll hide that so you can see the actual timings. We've got Sainz up there on a 122.134 on the C2 tyre. He's done 29 laps. Hamilton's done 34 already. Alex Albon, 122.938. And then we've got other lap times on the board. Who's put a lap in? Stroll in 12th place, 123.793. Bottas, 124.981 in 14th. And Mick Schumacher, 126.879 in 16th. Not many laps for Mick at the moment, just the 8. Let's hop in chat so I can take a breath and say, let's go alphabetically. Say a very good afternoon to Dan. Dan, cars on track, mate.
Good afternoon, buddy. Yes, it's been a while, hasn't it? It's been quite some time, but though we don't really get to see it in terms of footage, I'm so glad we're seeing so many images. It's so cool that 2022 is finally here, and I've enjoyed today. It's been a fun one, so thanks for having me, bud.
No worries. Always great to have you on, and good afternoon as well to Stuart. Some nice looking cars out there, aren't there? I think it's fair to say. Certainly that Ferrari that's on screen right now. I love that bloody thing.
Oh, it's happening, isn't it? We're here. We're live. There are cars on track. We can't watch them, but they're there. So I hear, because this isn't a real test after all.
Yeah, let's not break into that one. It's a test, but it's not a test. But it could be a test. It's a bit of a shakedown. But what do they call it? Was it a shakedown pre-testing event? Was the official name of it, wasn't it? Something like that.
Yeah, whatever it took to get a lot of money from Bahrain is what I'm understanding from this. But yeah, it's not real. It's a shakedown. Just ignore how enthusiastic the actual official F1 Twitter stream is right now.
Oh, it's the irony. That's the irony of it all, isn't it? They're sort of saying it's not a test, and then they're billing it as a test, and all the teams are billing it as a test. So, Yeah, whatever. It's a test. I'm just going to call it testing because that's what it is. It's Barcelona day one. We've got 2 and 3 tomorrow, which is how obviously numbers work. And then we've got 3 days in Bahrain in March. So that's what we're going to call it. I think the first one talking point we need to get straight onto, I will come to. If I'll do Charles's super chat first, because thank you very much, mate. Always appreciated. So generous and so kind of you. So thank you so much for your support on the channel. Says Charlie Cheese stopping by. Sup Sean community. Get the likes up. Target 80% of viewership today. Yes, please do get some likes. And I'd like to get to 500 at least for Charles if we can. So that would mean pretty much everybody liking the stream. So please do. Even if you hate me, it's fine. Just give Charles a like, so that's absolutely fine. But the big talking point, really, I think, to kick off with, Stuart, is that flipping Red Bull that we got the look at this morning. They showed us the show car, didn't they, with the livery on at launch, which is really frustrating. I hate that about the launches, but that's what they did. We knew that wasn't the car. They were clear that wasn't the car. We expected something different. We've seen leaks from their own shakedown, and you sort of thought, okay, there's some interesting things on there. Comes out this morning with half a side pod missing is the only way I can describe it. I'm not great with the technical stuff, but they've really gone a completely different way to everybody else. And I'm loving the fact that despite these strict regulations, there are not many cars out there that look fundamentally the same.
I think that's my favorite thing about these launches in general. We had a lot of talk, I guess, all through last year. You know, we knew what was coming in terms of the regulations, and it was all very much, this is much more restricted than we've had before. So, you know, the boxes the cars have to fit into are much tighter. So straight off the bat, almost everybody's going to sort of consolidate towards basically the same shape, and we're going to have cars that are going to be pretty much identical and quite hard to tell apart. And basically every single team has gone its own way with, you know, we got 3 different types of side pods, different types of wings, different types of cooling. I mean, we'll get onto the Ferrari at some point because that's wild. Yeah, and then the Red Bulls come out today. You can kind of see why they were hiding it, because it is pretty radical and extreme. I have to say, a little bit ugly, partly because it's a bit bitty. And one of the nice things about this year's cars is they have managed to get rid of most of the sort of bitty fiddly bits, and we've got these nice sleek lines. But Red Bull have sort of managed to get it a little bit bittier, but very aggressive, very tight, with what people are calling the double floor concept, where the side pods are so high they're essentially forming a second floor on top of the other floor. Yeah, and we don't know yet if this is the right way to go or not. Is the fun thing. Everybody's come out with their own designs. Red Bull could have come out with an absolute winner here, but we don't know just yet. It's very exciting.
Yeah, I mean, look, as a car, you know, to look at aesthetically, it's fine from the front, isn't it? It just looks like a really nice Formula One car. It's just when you can see from the side shot that's on screen now. I mean, it's just so. I'm sure it isn't, because, you know, it's Adrian Newey, and he does get things wrong from time to time, but he generally kind of gets things bang on, doesn't he? But I'll just put that last picture back up, actually, because I think a few people might want to have a proper look at that. But it looks a little bit like I think bitty is a great word. They look like they just cut lots of stuff up from somewhere and gone, stick that there, and stick like I've designed it. Basically, it does look a little bit of a mess from the side view. I think from the front it looks fine. There's some interesting stuff at the back, but that whole side thing, they've kind of somehow managed to incorporate what I would call a barge board.
Yeah, that was my first thought as well. And actually, looking at that picture, I hadn't noticed before. They've managed to get a slot into the I can't remember what the official name of them are, but the fins that go over the wheel. I'm seeing a little slot gap in there. So yeah, I think very aggressive. Clearly, they've exploited all the space available to them. Maybe by the time we get to the second test, we'll see a little bit more of this kind of flappy bodywork appearing on cars. But yeah, really interesting. Clearly, another one of Adrian Newey's shrink-wrapped designs where he hasn't used any more space than he's needed to.
Yeah, it's what he does, isn't it, really, pretty much. And it's radical. What do you think, Dan? I mean, it's radically different to, particularly that side view, to what we've seen from other cars. I know you're like me, you're not great with the tech stuff, but, you know, it doesn't look great from the side. But at the end of the day, as somebody said in chat, where are you? Master Noob says fast is better than ugly, so long as it's fast, doesn't matter what it looks like, does it?
Exactly. And I think Stuart saying it's aggressive is the perfect word to use, because it doesn't look like anything else that's out there at the moment from the images we've seen. And I think it would be very hard at this stage of the season for other teams to copy such a radical design if it does turn out to be super, super quick in these tests that we'll never really know. I think what's interesting is from the two launches that we saw that didn't really give much away was the Red Bull and the Haas. And I know when I was on last time, we spoke about how their cars are going to be very different by the time we see them in testing. And though they both are different to what we saw in the renders, it's really interesting to see how Haas pretty much have gone with a very clean looking car. Looks like it's going to be an okay starting maybe in the midfield. We're not going to find out until the first race of the season, but nothing too aggressive about it. Whereas this Red Bull, very, very different. Haas in the middle, nothing radical. This car, just on the side pods alone, looks so different. I actually quite like the look of it. Don't really know why. I was never against any of the extra winglets or little flaps on the side of the car. It takes an awful lot to wrap your head around what you're even looking at. I'll say that much. There is so much going on there, but I think it's quite cool. And again, just to echo what you both said, the fact that all of the cars, there's just something different about all of them is great. And the fact that this Red Bull looks so different to the Alpha Tauri as well, it doesn't have that funny 3-step engine cover that's on the Alpha Tauri, is also great to see. Shows they're both going in very different directions. So, like everyone, I'm really excited about this Red Bull car.
Yeah, because I think we did speculate during your predictions thing, didn't we, Stuart? Or Hazel did, that we might see Alpha Tauri taking a few parts from Red Bull, and we haven't really seen that at all, have we? Which has that surprised you? It did me. I expected it to not be a carbon copy, but I thought I'd be able to look at it and go, well, that looks very similar to the Red Bull. The Red Bull looks similar to the Alpha Tauri, because the Red Bull came after, of course, at the launches. But looking at it and just sort of going, well, that looks very similar. That looks similar, but they've not gone really too similar at all, have they?
Yeah, not really. It is interesting like that, because I'm sure there is some communication going on as to what they're allowed to do. I know they've essentially, had their own streams of development, since they weren't allowed to kind of borrow each other's chassis and stuff. But let's not forget, they have to use those same Honda/Red Bull powered engines in the back. So in terms of packaging that rear end, you can't. It was surprising that they do seem to be in like quite different directions, but I guess we'll see. And that Red Bull engine, as I guess we have to call it, is going to be one of the deciding factors on how fast this car is going to go, because it may have a super chassis and super aerodynamics, but if Red Bull and Honda can't work together to make that engine as fast as it can be, then they're going to be limited in how far they can take that car. So yeah, again, lots of questions, but we're starting to get answers.
Yeah, I just, for me, it is just how different cars are looking. I was worried, and I think a lot of people were, that we get something that looked very similar to the show car that we saw in Silverstone last year, and that you might see little bits here and there that they've been able to get around in the regulations. But it's the surprise for me is how radically different some cars are. The Ferrari, for example, looks nothing like the McLaren. The Alfa Romeo, the Aston Martin looks nothing like the Red Bull. And I was really worried we were just going to get these really similar cars, and we haven't seen that. And that's got me excited and a little bit nervous, actually, because I know we talked briefly in DMs earlier, Stuart, and you came out with a much more optimistic outlook than me on it. But I sort of look at it and think, well, somebody's got to have got this right. But because we have got such radical differences, surely in theory at least, somebody's got to have got it massively wrong as well. And we're not going to know that this week. We won't know really in Bahrain testing. I think we'll have a better picture there as to what's going on. Maybe an idea of a running order, but that can't really be taken seriously. We're not going to know for sure until... I keep saying the first race, but I think we're going to need a few races to get any idea what the running order is, to be honest.
Yeah, and we're going to have to see how these cars, behave and how strong they are in different types of circuit, be they high-speed circuits, technical circuits. Because let's not forget, or maybe you never knew, let's go over the fact that the new philosophy of these cars means we're having stiffer suspension, much lower cars, which means there's less role in the cars. So we're expecting these cars to be faster in the high-speed sections and slower and more annoying in the slow-speed sections, and trying to get your cars as fast as possible through the high-speed corners without compromising in the low speed. It's going to be interesting to see. So we may see some cars that do, like, as we know, Barcelona is, fast to medium speed corners. We may not be seeing the limitations of these cars in the slower speed stuff today, and that may come out in, I don't know, some of the pokier corners in Imola or something. I don't know how early on Imola is, but you know what I mean. We may not see some of this stuff until a bit later on.
Well, yeah, because you've got, what have we got on the calendar? So you've got, I'm going to throw it up quickly just so I've got it in front of me. So you've got Bahrain, then you've got Saudi Arabia. Well, that's two very different tracks. You've then got Albert Park, which has been redone and is completely different to Saudi Arabia and Bahrain. Then you've got Imola, which could be closer to Albert Park in that it's quite tight and twisty in some areas, but really they're quite different. Then we're going to Miami and have no idea. It could be Barcelona on the 22nd of May when we sort of get a proper rough idea of what the definitive running order is. But of course, Dan, over the course of the season, the development race is going to be so huge that who's fastest in Spain might not be fastest in, let's pick a race out, Austria, and that person may not be fastest, that team might not be fastest in Italy, for example. It's going to be one of those seasons where it could chop and change quite easily. At least I hope. I don't want a dominant team, Dan. And I think we've had this conversation before. We'd like 2, 3, 4. I think we'd like 10 up there, actually, wouldn't we, if we're honest?
That would be incredible. I think we're all secretly hoping for that. I'm fully with you on this. I think everyone would like to see more than one team in the fight for the World Championship. Not only considering what we had last year and that we didn't want to end last year. It was that good. But moving into this new regulation, this is year one. And we don't want to start off with one team miles in front and then the next 4 seasons playing catch up. It could happen. But then I like to think a couple of years ago, 2019, I think that's a season that a lot of people would think Mercedes ran away with. But it was the season where at the very start of the year, many people thought Ferrari were going to run away with it. They got that pole with Leclerc in Bahrain, should have won that race. And Ferrari always in the mix that year. Red Bull were fighting for victories as well. So in a season where we weren't expecting a lot, that year, though Mercedes won it, Ferrari could have won it. Red Bull were running races and we had 3 teams in the fight. Even if we can just have that this year, that would be awesome. But then even if we do have one team that run away with it, no matter who it is, yes, that will be slightly disappointing. First up, I think almost all of the driver pairings on this year's grid are so competitive. So that'll be fun on its own. And even in seasons, I'm thinking, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, it was 2015 where Mercedes had such a strong year. We showed up to Singapore and they were absolutely nowhere. And I think this season, you're right. We've got all those races up until Spain. And I think in every single one, we're going to find out those different characteristics of each car. And I think some tracks will play to some team strengths. That Honda engine was pretty awesome last year, but Ferrari have got a heavily changed engine for this year. Mercedes will have hopefully improved theirs. Some teams will be better straight line, some teams will be better in the corners, and we're really not going to get a proper picture. I would say even further than Spain, because I think that traditional, because don't forget this year we're going to have those B-spec cars that we didn't have last season. So I think that will come into play around about Spain, Canada time. And I think with all of the changes we've got on the cars this year, teams are always going to be trying to improve it. They're going to be stealing ideas from other cars. Yes, conceptually they'll be the same. But yeah, I can see it going quite late into the season until we get a real picture. Yes, you'll get your idea of who's at the back and at the front. But I to be honest, mate, from last season, I couldn't tell you which was better out of the Red Bull and the Mercedes. And I think it'll be a similar story to that all the way this year.
I hope so. I really hope so. I hope we get a season like last season without certain aspects of it. Let's leave it at that. But I've got to be honest. I'm feeling, because I did my predictions and I went all in on Ferrari, and I'll be honest, I wasn't confident. Then I saw the car, and there's some bias here because that's one of the best looking cars I've seen in years. I'm even more confident that they're looking good. So if Red Bull and Mercedes, because Red Bull and Mercedes aren't going to completely screw it up, I can't see it. So if they're still up there, and Ferrari is as quick as it looks, and if McLaren can get in the mix, I think it's going to get really tasty. I'm looking forward to this one. all this testing day has done is got me even more hyped, which is frustrating. By the way, picture on screen now of the Alpine. How much better does that livery look out on track? It looked awful in those shots that they let out. It looks so good. That's not even the livery they're going to be running in Bahrain, are they? They're getting a full pink one. We're going back to Racing Point, which will be interesting. I think I preferred the pink one, but out on track for anyone interested, Carlos Sainz has been following somebody closely. Verstappen got within 0.8 of a second into DRS range. Seen a few cars today coming out of, or reportedly, obviously we can't actually see it, but cars sort of coming into those final couple of corners, getting close to the car in front and just seeing how well they can follow. So I'm hoping after the session finishes today, hopefully by the time Ted does his notebook tonight, we'll have some driver interviews that are saying whether or not these cars are easier to follow or not, because that's the big key. So hopefully it's going to have worked. Also out on track, Hamilton has just set the fastest first sector on his most recent lap, but has backed out of it. This is all, of course, from Autosport and motorsport.com. What else have we got going on? It's your usual testing stuff. Cars driving around at a pace that is not representative. In terms of laps completed, Leclerc did 80 this morning, as I said earlier. Norris 72. Russell did 77. Hamilton in this afternoon has already done 38. Vettel did 52 this morning. Tsunoda did 92, or has done 92 so far. Sainz has already done 42 this afternoon. Verstappen, who's been an all-day, is on 129. Albon 43. He just came in this afternoon. Alonso 110. Latifi 66. This morning, Stroll's done 31 this afternoon. Mazepin only managed 20 this morning. Bottas has only done 10. Kubica did 9 this morning, and Schumacher only 8. So I will just check and see if there's. I really doubt there'll be too much from Haas and Co. On why they're doing so few laps. It's usually, isn't it, Stuart? It's usually their kind of thing.
Yeah, I remember Alfa Romeo in particular said, I can't remember what their problems were. This was so long ago, but they were talking about this morning. They had a couple of gremlins they were working through, but hopefully those two teams will get some proper track action tomorrow, and they figured it all out today, because even though we got this, we got more testing than we got last year. This pre-testing shakedown session is about sort of getting the gremlins out, so you can have some proper what would you call it, like actual speed development performance in Bahrain. These are, of course, brand new cars, revolutionary, not picking up off where they left off last year. So really just trying to make sure they understand them before they push them next week. So fingers crossed they get on top of that tomorrow before we have to head off to Bahrain.
What were you uh-ohing at? You've got me worried now. What have I missed?
Oh no, I was just uh-ohing what you were saying, just like how few laps those two teams have put in, because they particularly Haas. I mean, the Haas car looks like they really spent last year well. We spoke a lot, I think, about how they abandoned developing in 2021 to focus on this year, and it does look like they did actually do some homework, because that's a very interesting car. But again, we got to hope they pointed it in the right direction. But they will have the most development time of everyone in the first 6 months of this year, or the first 50% of this year anyway.
I hope so. Are you feeling good about Haas, actually? Just super quickly, Stuart, because the car they showed the delivery off on was sort of meh. That was apparently an early version, but the one we've seen out on track, the one that did its shakedown and that we've seen today, is very different to that. And I think they've got some really nice ideas on there. So my constant joke of, if they're not good this year, we've got to ask the question, what they've been doing for the last 12 months. Well, that's what they've been doing for the last 12 months. They've been cracking on with it. So some interesting stuff on there, and I think they've got quite a few, or a fair few from what I've seen on snap analysis and things, a few Ferrari bits on there, which, is what I expect to see on the AlphaTauri, not so much the Haas, but they're allowed to do that, so utilize it. They've done that brilliantly over the years, haven't they?
Yeah, I'm definitely feeling more optimistic about them. I was fascinated by their launch car, which was not a show car and definitely not the car that they've actually put onto the track, but some kind of weird, I don't know. It kind of it reminded me of Alien Resurrection, where Ripley goes into the room to find all like the weird broken versions of early testing versions. Kill me. But this one looks much nicer, and the people who are into technical analysis of these new cars, who do it much better than I could ever do, seem to be very positive about some of the ideas it's come up with. So fingers crossed that car will be sort of back in the mix. And it's a strange. I do want that car. I do want Haas to do well. I don't like any car to be sort of lingering at the bottom. But you you can't wish every car into the midfield because someone has to come last. And it's really, I have no idea who that kind of last team is going to be this year.
Yeah, that's the trouble with competitive sport, isn't it? Someone's got to be first and someone's got to be last. And, you know, you don't have to have a terrible car to end up last, do you? If they're fairly well matched, then it could be a bad result or a good result that can decide that. But yeah, I'm feeling good from it. Love that alien analogy. I'm not going to lie. Absolutely bang on. But we've got Bottas back out on track in the Alfa Romeo. It's been quiet for them, just 20 laps so far in total for them, so hopefully we'll see whatever the issues. I think they had a few niggles, didn't they, this morning? I think you were touching on there, Stuart, but I think we'll see how that goes. Hopefully get some laps in this afternoon, but running out of time. There's only an hour and 5 minutes left of the session, so yeah, I'm going to come to you guys in chat. Obviously super chats will take priority, but if you don't pop super chats in, that's absolutely fine. I will come to you guys in chat. I'll try and answer as many as we can. We've got a couple of hours to do it. That's the beauty of these streams. We can have a good old waffle with you all and see what you're all saying today. Why does Alfa feel like they need to hide the car? That's Alfa Romeo. They've come in that camo livery. It's been tough to spot that car today, Dan, in its camo livery. At one point, I just saw 4 wheels going around and no driver in it. So, yeah, I mean, I assume it's just to hide things on the car. I mean, I quite like the livery, to be honest. If they want to stick with that for the season, that could be interesting. Although, again, it'll make it tough to see on track. I'll stop those crap jokes, don't worry. Bottas, was it? No, Kubica ran a camo helmet as well, which was really bizarre. But they're definitely trying to hide something, and hopefully we'll get an idea on Sunday, when they launch the C42 proper.
Yeah, I can't lie. I don't like it. I'm not. I don't like it. I'm not a fan of the livery. It's not as good as the Red Bull camo one, the black and white one they did, and the McLaren one. But either way, I doesn't matter about the livery. I like the fact they're doing it. Is the main thing. It means that they're trying to hide something. It means that their ambitions is hopefully not the midfield, though I'm sure most of us would put them in that group or a bit further back. So it means their ambitions are higher up, which is great, and we want that for all the teams. It means they feel they need something to hide, or they've got something that they feel could be a real game changer that they don't want to give away even before real testing starts. I don't like that. This counts as testing. They want to hide things, and I like that. So yeah, livery or no livery, I'm excited that they've got something up their sleeves that they don't want to give away just yet, which I wish more teams would be able to do.
Yeah, that's fair dues. I thought it looked quite cool. I quite liked it. I like their Valentine's one they did a couple of years ago, actually. I preferred that one, but
yeah,
I think it's all right. I think the camo's all right. That's fine, Dan. You know, chill out. I will say, actually, sorry, mate. I'm going to, the second stream in a row, I'm apologising to you live. That McLaren did not like it at all at launch. Out on track, actually looks much better. You're not going to tell me it looks worse.
Yeah, I am.
I knew you would.
Yeah, I am. It doesn't quite look as good as it did in the renders. Still looks great, though. It's still one of my favourites out there, but there are so many to choose from. It's. I told you at the time it was great. I'm glad you're seeing the light.
Because I saw it in the light, that's why. Yeah. Jose Antonio says, is it true that the Mercedes is quicker on the corners than anyone else? It's difficult to say without being able to really look, but Lawrence Barretto of F1 said, ignoring the timesheets, chatter here in the paddock, is that the Mercedes and Ferrari look impressive out on track. Early days, though. Today is just about mileage, impressive reliability for most teams. So that's obviously at Lauro Barretto over on Twitter. I tell you what, Autosport, many other people as well, they're doing a great job keeping us updated. And again, like you said, Stuart, the F1 feed's keeping us nicely updated considering it's a closed test. Which I'm kind of with you. I think I'm on a skeptical side that this is to do with money rather than anything else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's nothing. We're getting a lot of information. We're getting lots of really incisive stuff from people at the track, out on the track, watching the cars and so on. But there's nothing like seeing it and being able to sort of make informed judgments for yourself, you know. It's not going to be the same until we're sitting here watching those cars and trying to deduce what's going on. Having said that, yeah, I mean, I'm hearing from the people out there that we are definitely well, at least in the high speed, as we said, seeing good things from the Mercedes and the Ferrari. We're also apparently seeing a lot of porpoising, which I imagine is going to be a word we're going to hear a lot of this year. It's sort of a knock-on of the pseudo ground effect we have, where the ground effect sucks the car right down to the ground, but when it gets low enough, it accidentally cuts off the airstream and then it bounces back up again and then sucks back down. So it's sort of like a porpoise is a dolphin, for anyone who doesn't know. So that kind of dolphin emotion. So it's sort of like in the old ground effect days, the cars would sort of bounce up and down at high speed. So apparently we're seeing a little bit of that out there today, which the F1 engineers said they didn't see in their simulations. So that's going to be an interesting thing to try and dial out.
They didn't see it in the simulations. Oh, so that can't.
That's what I'm hearing. Yeah.
So that can't have been done on purpose, could it?
How long have we been streaming? Half an hour.
Oh dear, this is only the 2-hour short roundup of streams. Imagine what it's going to be like when we get to the actual testing. Anyway, I'm so sorry, everybody. There we go. Just to let you know, Bottas has moved into the top 10. If you are just tuning in, I'll run you through the times and what we've got so far, as I tend to do every half an hour on these streams. Charles Leclerc, obviously still fastest. He was out this morning. He's not in this afternoon. 80 laps, 120.165 on the C3. Sainz, second place, 45 laps. Norris, third, 76 laps. Sainz up to second, actually. Yeah, so he's in this afternoon. So Ferrari 1-2. Sean, it's testing. Calm down. Russell, fourth place, 120.777 laps. Hamilton up there in fifth place. Vettel in sixth. Tsunoda seventh. So Hamilton 40 laps. Vettel 52. Tsunoda 92. Max Verstappen 131 laps already today. He's in eighth. Bottas, like I say, just jumped into ninth place on a 122.572. 15 laps now. C3 tyre use for that one. Albon in 10th. 122.938 C3 tyre, 46 laps. And we've got Alonso in 11th on a 23.3, 118 laps. Latifi 12th on a 123.3, 66 laps. Stroll's done 34 laps on a 123.6, his fastest time on the C2 tyre. Mazepin 14th, 24.5, C2, 20 laps. Kubica for Alfa Romeo this morning, 125.9 C3 and 9 laps. And Mick Schumacher 16th and last at the moment, 126.8 C2 and 8 laps on the board so far. So a quiet one for Haas today, which, as we've already said, we'll keep an eye on that one, but it's not critical, is it, at this stage? It's when you get into you're sort of halfway through the second day and Haas have still only got 20 laps on the board and you're going, oh, good job we've got a second test this year, because that could cause some problems. Actually, as well, no red flags yet today, which is a miracle. Last time, when I said that last year, I think there was a red flag within about 15 minutes of me saying that, so I've probably absolutely ruined that one. And just look at the Autosport feed. The RB18 has sprouted some fins this afternoon to assist its cooling output, marked by the giant green arrow. You obviously can't see the giant green arrow, but if you are following the text chat over on Autosport or motorsport.com, then that is all on there as well. So, yeah, Bottas and Sainz, the big movers this afternoon so far in terms of lap times. Not that the lap times really bloody matter, do they?
Well, I'll give you the first meaningless lap time comparison of the day.
Oh, go on then.
Only for reference, but the fastest lap in Spain at last year's Grand Prix was a 1:18.1. So it's running about 2 seconds behind that right now on day one of the shakedown.
Or whatever it is.
So there you go. Draw from that what you will. But I don't think we're anywhere near pushing these cars to full hot lap speed yet.
No, I mean, well, Max ended up in the gravel, didn't he, this morning? So running wide into the gravel and had a couple of track limits moments. Not that it matters in shakedown testing, but yeah, he was pushing obviously some sort of limit, but they're definitely not at full speed. But they reckon they're going to be as fast as last year's cars pretty much from the off, don't they, Dan? So hopefully we're going to see some good lap times by the end of this week, but certainly hopefully we'll see some competitive ones towards the end of that third day in Bahrain, so we can at least stop saying the cliche, it's the laps that matter, rather than lap times, because I do get sick of saying it.
Yeah, do you mean competitive in the sense that we can read from them?
Yeah.
Or competitive in the sense that we can compare them to last year's times?
I can't see somebody going out and sticking in a Bahrain pole lap.
Right, exactly.
Or anything like that. You never know, do you?
Yeah, I think this feels weird, having a discussion about competitive times and testing. Next week will be the better ones to look at. I think I saw on Twitter yesterday the times from a couple of years ago, and at the end of testing, it was Mercedes at the top, Red Bull second, then it was your Ferraris, your Renaults. So there's normally a bit of a theme by that final day of teams that have sorted out those little reliability issues. They're comfortable with the car. It's kind of generally accepted that all of the teams aren't pushing 100%. So maybe if we just say, for argument's sake, 85%, 90% is where they're all about pushing. So you can get a rough idea of where everyone is. And of course, if you've got, I'll say it for you, Sean, Ferrari that just happened to be 2 seconds quicker than everyone else, them at 90%, they're still going to be at the top of the times because everyone else is at 90%. So you can read into it a tiny little bit. But this week, it's going to be all about making sure any issues are ironed out. And I think looking at Haas today, they've got very little running in, and that's not great. But as we always say, get it now. Get it done now. Get it out the way. Sort it, fix it. They've got the beauty of 2 tests this year, if you want to call it that. So it's ideal getting it out the way. And then hopefully next week, all the cars will have most of their reliability issues out the way. And sure, if you want to call them competitive times, be my guest.
More competitive than today.
Yeah, definitely. Just no reading into this week, I feel, is going to be the best way of doing it. Read into next week slightly, and then first practice one in Bahrain. That's when we really need to start judging.
Red Ravens says, good afternoon, mate. Says, by the way, how are we getting live track times if there is no official timing, or did I misunderstand something? So this confused me because I when they said there was no live timing, I thought they meant there was literally no live timing. The only people with, stopwatches or whatever they use now instead would be the teams. But there is live timing in the media center. So the minute I saw that this morning, I gave up calling it a shakedown test. It's a test because they've got lap times and they're all out there together. So there is official timing at the circuit, but nothing on like the F1 thing. So I think Autosport and others as well are just updating it based on what the information is there. So probably manually is what we've got there. So I hope that clears it up because it doesn't clear it up for me at all. Dat Pro guy says, thoughts on F1 saying that it's highly likely the Russian Grand Prix will be cancelled. What would your replacement track be? Honestly, I've not seen that article on the Russian Grand Prix. I know there's a lot of talk or a lot of pressure being put on F1 now to cancel it. If they've said it's highly likely, then maybe it will go. But in terms of a track to replace it, Nürburgring? Can it be any track? Then Sepang, Malaysia would be nice, Not long after Singapore, that one, and Japan, we're in that neck of the woods, aren't we? So Malaysia, I'd be quite happy with that one. Yeah, Turkey, that's probably on. I'd imagine, to be honest, Stuart, given the way the ups and downs of COVID over the last couple of years and not really knowing what's going on in cancellations, I'd imagine there are still 2 or 3 circuits on the standby list, like Istanbul and places like that.
Yeah, Istanbul is actually kind of similarly placed. It's sort of out there. I think it's just it's a little bit south of Sochi, but it's kind of on the way from Monza to Singapore, because obviously they will go there and not come back into the track, obviously. So yeah, that seems like the obvious choice, and it's been a super sub circuit for the last couple of years. So I'd imagine that's an easy pick. Again, we are, whenever I hear about some races potentially dropping out, part of me does think it's a nice little break, especially when we heard that the FIA increased the limit up to 24 from 23. So it's all going to get a bit packed, but we don't need to worry about that just yet. So yeah, I think Turkey would be the obvious choice to slot in there.
Yeah, I think so. And like I said, I think there'll be a few on standby. I'd imagine Portimao's not on the calendar this year, is it? Portugal? No. So I'd imagine that's on there as a standby. Probably Mugello as well. Turkey. Anybody who stood in 2020, I'd imagine, has still got a chance of getting on this year if things get cancelled. But if Russia gets called off, then they need to think logistically, don't they? So you'd probably bang on there, Stuart, with Turkey. I'll throw it to you quickly then, Dan. One circuit, any circuit ever from anywhere. Don't even be realistic. I don't care if you say the moon, to be honest. Where do you want to go racing?
I will be realistic, actually. Fuji. I'd like to go back to Fuji.
it would be very F1 to have 2 races in Japan the year that Honda pull out. So
Exactly. It just seems written in the stars that we haven't had one for so long as well.
yeah, I could see that happening. I really, really could. John T wants Kyle Army. Good afternoon, mate. Yeah, Kyle Army is going to be a popular one. Be great to get back there. Josh says, got to be Caesar's Palace, obviously, or Palace. What did I say? Whatever. Yes, absolutely, Josh. I had a feeling you might say that one, mate. Max says Malaysia. Joy Deep says India. Would love to go back to that circuit. I again, for the millionth time on these streams in the last few weeks, I'm watching 2012 back again. Watched the race in India. It wasn't the best race ever, but the way they configured that first couple of corners and that run to turn 3 that was a little bit like Kota in that it opens up at the top and it widens out so you have multiple lines. It was so clever and such a good track. So yeah, I'd love to go back there, but I think money and some other things are probably stopping that one from happening. A lot of people saying Sepang Thruxton for Dan Philpott, Hockenheim for Caviar. I like Hockenheim. I quite like New Hockenheim as well. I used to kind of really dislike it. South Korea says Enforcer Nebula. It would be good to get that track back. Just a shame, again, they stuck it in the middle of nowhere because that didn't work. Yeah, a lot of
I like South Korea.
I did. But they just didn't... I don't think, from what you read and what you look back at now and you watch those races back, I don't think there was really an audience for it over there. They weren't too fussed. And to make it even worse, they kind of stuck it in the middle of nowhere in a place that was really hard to get to by most accounts. And so people who weren't really fussed weren't going to go and put themselves through that. So it wasn't really that well thought out, but it was a good track. It was a very good track.
It was. It had a lot of potential as well. If they hadn't. Yeah, you're right. They put it in the middle of nowhere, and they ran out of money to build that super city around it. Probably won't be doing a plan like that again. But yeah, it's a shame. Maybe in the future. I'm assuming it's still there.
Isn't Valencia still there as a track?
Just, I think. Don't think there's much left of that one.
That was a dark time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Although the 2012 race, again, was pretty decent, actually. I'll take a couple more of your suggestions. Portimao says, Niels, I quite like Portimao as a track, but I can't honestly say it gave us... Well, the 2021 race wasn't too bad, but I can't say it gave us epic races. But it was a nice track. It's actually quite a nice track to drive on the game, which of course is the main consideration when Formula One picks races for the calendar. How will Sean feel about them on the game? Of course. And one more super quick. We've had Caesar's Palace. People are liking that one. Laguna Seca says Jack. There you go. Why not? Talk, of course, as well about Andretti. Which is on the subject before we get on to back to testing, but just it's cropped up on the feed from Autosport. That Andretti will need to prove their worth if they want to join F1, according to... I'm going to have to go to the page. I've got that on screen capture because it was the only way I could do it without it flickering.
Toto Wolff.
According to Toto Wolff, yeah. So let's have a look at what Toto says. If you've missed it this last week or so, there was a tweet. Was it from Mario Andretti? Saying that they were looking at, or Michael Andretti was looking at bringing in a team to Formula One. They put an application in, and it was up to the FIA to consider it. And then apparently that wasn't going to happen because the FIA, for some reason, don't feel F1's in a position to accept more teams. Question mark over all of that. And Toto Wolff is quoted as saying, Andretti is a name, that's for sure. The American market is important, but every team that is joining needs to be... accretive. That means it needs to add value, obviously. And it's not only paying $200 million entry fee, but it needs to demonstrate, in my opinion, what it can do for the other teams, for F1 and FIA. Only then the sport will grow. We are the absolute pinnacle. It's the Champions League or the NFL, and redistributing franchises is not the goal. That's not how it should be, and it's not the intention of F1 and the FIA neither. So, yeah, but I think... I mean, you can never be too sure, can you, Stuart? But I think Andretti would be a pretty safe bet for F1 if they decided to let another team in. It's not like Bill Story's come out and gone, oh, I've got a Rich Energy team and I'd like to put it on the grid, please. Nah, do one, mate. I think Andretti will be a safe bet.
I mean, you would think, wouldn't you? And actually, kind of similar to when Haas came in, and Haas came in and didn't do too bad. I know they've struggled a bit last year, but I'm saying this genuinely. I don't quite know exactly how I feel about Toto's comments about, them needing to add value and needing to. Maybe you do. Maybe you do need to. F1 has moved on so much in the last few decades from when anyone could turn up with a bag of spanners and sort of throw an F1 team together. Like the last 2 decades have really just turned it into you have to be like the most serious, dedicated operation ever, or you don't stand a chance. But I think Andretti, it's not like they have no experience at all in putting a motor racing team together, is it? And again, F1's chasing that American money stream, which I'm not entirely sure Haas are convincingly giving them. But when these Andretti rumors started coming around, or well, not really rumors, are they? But the rumor was F1 was sort of F1's holding out for the big constructors is the bottom line. So before they give Andretti the big tick and say welcome aboard, they sort of want to know whether or not Porsche are interested, or Audi, or whoever wants to slot into that, or Lamborghini, God forbid, before they sort of give what's essentially another privateer team that little slot there, is what I'm hearing.
That doesn't surprise me. And Pixel Flow making a good point as well, saying, isn't it because the Concord agreement states top 10 teams get prize money, so they have to pay lots to offset that loss? It's a good point as well. If the Concord agreement says top 10 teams get money, then, some of the teams towards the back end of the grid are not going to be keen on the idea, because they could end up getting no prize money if you let an 11th or 11th and 12th team in. So that's probably part of the consideration. But I think, to be fair, Ross Brawn did say, I don't know if it's last year or the year before, that they get these regulations in, make sure they were working first, and then look to bring or allow entries a few years down the line, maybe when we get the new power unit regulations in 2025 or 2026, whenever they go for those. I think it's 25, isn't it? For the power unit regs?
I think it's 26, but oh god. Well, I'll look that up while you keep talking.
We'll say 25 and a half. Halfway through the season in 2025, they've all got to build a new power unit. But yeah, I think that's something that probably, when they talk about new teams, that was the time frame I was thinking when the power unit regs change, because then that kind of backs up what you're saying there, Stuart, and what you're hearing, that it might encourage a Porsche who look like they're on the brink of a deal with Red Bull. Apparently that's very, very close. Could be announced as early as March that'll be 2026. Yeah, it is 26 for 2026. So I think you're right. That's what they're waiting for. But I'd rather Porsche came in and entered their own team, really. But would you like to see Andretti in F1, Dan? Or just... See, I want a 24-car grid. I'm so greedy, I know. I want a 24-car grid. That feels about right for me.
Yeah, I like 24. I think what we have now is okay, but I think a couple more would be quite spicy. I think that would give us that extra level to that midfield where we have, rather than having our front cars, midfield, and the back, you would kind of have 2 tiers to the midfield, hopefully. Hopefully that would mean more different teams getting points at different times. I just think it works. And I think that extra dynamic of having another American team would be quite fun. I'm all for it. Of course, I will keep aside my bias that Andretti currently have the best driver in the world driving for an IndyCar. Yeah, I'll keep that aside, because I think by the time Andretti did make it to F1, it'd be too late for a return for the Grosjean. So I'll leave that there. But no, I like it. I think I'm with Stuart that I'm not sure I fully agree with Toto Wolff's comments. I don't think there's necessarily a need for a team to necessarily bring value to, especially to other teams. I don't think that's necessary at all. I think if a team wants to come to Formula One, yes, they need to give a little bit of value to the sport, but not to other teams. They're there to win races. If anything, they're there to take away from the other teams. They want to show up and win races. Haas say that. Doesn't always come true that they're competitive, but every team on the grid is there to hopefully win the world championship. And I think Andretti have that pulling power in the States, yes, but they're also a brand that has an incredible motorsports history, a brand that knows how to win. So I think they'd fit in quite seamlessly. I think they'd be, if I was going to pick a team any sort of brand or company to join Formula One, they'd be right near the top of the list for me. So I'm excited. I think they'd be a great addition to F1.
I wonder if Liberty Media will push this a little bit more than the teams and the FIA, because obviously a few people get mad at me when I talk about the American market and how important it is to F1, and a few American fans, when we did our stream last time, Dan, when we were talking about this, and sort of saying, hang on a minute, I'm an American fan and I watch F1 whether there's an American team or not. It's not essential. And I totally get that, but Liberty Media puts such an emphasis on needing, in air quotes, an American team in the sport. So I can imagine they really wanting to push this one and sort of say, look, we could do with another one, because Haas, we don't know if they're going to stick around, and people keep taking the mickey and saying that they're not American anymore, or stating facts. I don't know. Just something from Adam Cooper over at Motorsport, by the way. Hamilton is undergoing a front suspension setup change. Half the team is standing in front of the car blocking the view, and down at Red Bull, Verstappen's side pods are off, and work is going on, or what's left of the side pods is off, and work is going on. He's out of the car, but on his way back now. So Hamilton front suspension change, and the side pods are off on Verstappen's car. Some work going on there, which is interesting. And Williams' tally for the day is now, that was about 10 minutes ago nearly, so well over 121 laps that's been recorded. So Albon also out there doing stuff, 22.7 at the moment, so 2/10 out of his lap time at the moment. So yes,
just while you're doing news, the Haas floor has got damaged, which is why they're not doing anything right now. That's what their problem is.
Have they had an off that we've missed?
I think I mean, they haven't said anything more than that. I think possibly these cars are so low and so stiff that you can go over a curb wrong, or run a bit wide, and these floors are now really so important. They're not just completely flat. That you damage the floor, especially during testing. It's pointless to go out there with a damaged floor, because you're not testing the most important new part of the car, are you? So I think they probably just smashed it into the ground at some point, and just need to repair it or stick a new one on.
Yeah, just to read that tweet to people, this afternoon's running has been disrupted by a damaged floor. The crew are continuing to work hard on repairs so that Mick can add to his 8 laps before the end of the session. So they want to crack on. They've only got 35 minutes, just over. I gave up on that pretty quickly, didn't I? It's not, how am I going to cope with 8 hours when we get to Bahrain if I can't do this one already? I've just missed something in chat I wanted to read. So Ralph Williams says, agree. Greetings from Metro Atlanta, Georgia. Hello. Says 2 F1 races in Austin and Miami are enough. Don't need a third Grand Prix in Las Vegas. See, this is a bit of a contentious thing in some ways, isn't it? Do we need a third race in America or in the USA? And I sort of understand people saying, well, it's one country, why does it need 3? But it's a pretty damn big country, and there's a lot of races in pretty close proximity across Europe, and only having 1 or 2 in the States does seem a little odd if you're talking about the size of the country as a whole. But I understand why people are a bit concerned about the idea of 3 over there. But I think probably the people more concerned will be the circuits. Our COTA are going to miss out on attendees this year because people are going to want to go check out Miami and can't afford both. And then if Vegas does turn up, are people going to abandon the other 2 1 year or for a couple of years to go check out Vegas? Will they end up with a favourite? It could be detrimental, but then, as I've just said, a lot of races in Europe seem to cope. So there you go. I mean, we often see a lot of Finnish fans in Hungary, for example, don't we? And Dutch fans in Germany and Belgium. So do you get what I'm saying?
Let's not forget how big the United States is. There are people who are going to be sort of more Western or Southern who aren't going to go. I know Florida's in the South, but who are more Western who aren't going to trek all the way to Florida if COTA's right there. I think, in theory, it's going to hoover up 2 different geographic zones. So hopefully won't cause them any problems. And COTA also gets a lot of the Central American contingent as well, trekking up.
Yeah, that's true. We've got hopefully Canada back this year as well, and we've got Mexico on the calendar, Brazil. Yeah. I'll ponder that a bit more actually. 3 in the US. I'm not really sure about Vegas anyway. I think I mean, Vegas would be pretty bang on for F1, but I don't want to have to lose somewhere like COTA, because I actually really like that track, the Circuit of the Americas. I really, really like that track. So don't really want to see that fall off the calendar if we end up somewhere like Vegas, because the trouble with F1 is it'll all come down to money. You know, if Vegas can afford to pay more than Austin can, then guess what? We'll be going to Vegas if they can only have two or only want to. So that would be a shame to lose that one. But do you fancy a race in Vegas, Dan? Or, you know, around the streets of New York? Do you want Bernie to have his idea of New Jersey back or whatever?
To be honest, I think we got enough street circuits, is my initial thoughts on that. I'm Vegas, it would most likely be a street circuit, wouldn't it? I think you've got so many incredible actual racetracks and venues in America. For me, it would just be silly not to take up that opportunity. I mean, Laguna Seca, the corkscrew in these cars would be nuts. Probably a bit dangerous, so maybe not.
Especially if you got Grosjean steaming up your inside.
Yeah. Hey, I would pay to watch that again. Thank you very much. But there's so many incredible tracks in America. Indy would be very much at the top of my list to go back to. Not the oval, don't worry, chat. The full race course, I would love that. That would be top of my list. But yeah, I think focus more on the tracks they've got there. Utilize that, because I think if you're going to go on the looks of we want to bring more American fans, I think they're more likely to go to a track they know than attend a street race. But then I suppose that's the business model for Formula E, isn't it? Put the racing where the people are. So I would go Indy. I would look at your Watkins Glen, your Road America, tracks like that before a street circuit.
Yeah, no, that's something that me and Jonty said many times. Is use the tracks you've got rather than just sticking barriers around a street track. Let Formula E do that. I actually think Formula E do that quite well. Let's not talk too much about that on an F1 channel. It does upset people. But yeah, I don't know the American tracks very well, but I'm a big fan of Indy. I think they could tweak the infield a little bit as well, make it a bit more interesting, but I think that would be a good spot to go to. I'll run through the times in just a second, so I'll read a couple more. Johnson just says Barber. I knew he was going to say Barber. That's the one I do always remember. Croppy will be conversation. I'll run through the times in just a moment. I'm just going to have a quick scroll, see what you guys are saying before we get there. Actually, no, I'll do super chats. Thank you very much. I don't know, just changing my name. Could you just remind me, I had another one in earlier. So, Armands, thank you for your super chat, mate, a little bit earlier today, 19 minutes ago. Fernando Alonso fan, so brace yourself. It's a shame for the lack of broadcasting. However, not sure if I want to see Alonso get electrocuted again. Did he get electrocuted?
Well, I missed that. Time to search for that.
That's definitely a Google job, that is, isn't it? Thank you again to, I don't know, just changing my name. Says, do you think each F1 team will score points? Also, avoid Vegas. An NFL player for my favourite team who seemed incredibly nice just had a fist fight there. City scares me. I live in New Orleans, by the way, so I understand partying. Thank you very much again for your super chat. Do we think all teams will score points? That's a question that I'll get to in just a minute. I'm going to hold that and we're going to go over to the live times and just have a look at what we've got. I said go over. The screen isn't changing because I can't get live timing. Why not? So Lando Norris has moved to the top of the timing boards. A 119.951. That's put him ahead of both the Ferraris. That was on the C4 tyre. So if you're newish to F1, then C1, C2, your hard tyres, C3, your medium, 4, 5, your softer tyres. They get softer as they go down like that one. Alonso is above Albon as well into 10th place. That's on a 122.622. And Hamilton is back on track after suspension tweaks. I'm just waiting for the leaderboard to update, and then I will run through it as soon as it does. In fact, there you go. Look at that for timing. Thank you. Norris, top of the timesheets. Like I say, 19.9 C4, 87 laps. Leclerc now second on a 120.1 C3 tyre for him. So a compound harder, 80 laps in total this morning. Sainz in the second Ferrari, or in the same Ferrari this afternoon, 120.4 C3 tyre, 57 laps. Russell in fourth place for Mercedes, 120.7. That was set on the C3 tyre, 77 laps this morning. Lewis Hamilton is back out on track, as I say, after those suspension tweaks, 120.929 C3 tyre, 50 laps in total so far. Lots of laps today. Vettel 52 this morning, 121.2 C3 tyre. Sonoda C3 tyre as well, 105 laps and a 121.6 was his fastest. Verstappen in the Red Bull 122.2 C2 tyre, 137 laps. Valtteri Bottas at 122.572 C3 tyre 23. It threw me then, the words Alfa Romeo next to Bottas's name. That's going to happen a lot this season. It just completely threw me there. Alonso P10 in the Alpine 122.622 C2 tyre, 111 laps for Fernando so far today. Verstappen still topping that at 137, and then we've got Albon in 11th for the rest of those out there, 61 laps C3 tyre, 122.7. Nicholas Latifi, his teammate this morning, did a 123.3 C3, 66 laps. Stroll in the Aston Martin, a 123.699. That was on the C2 tyre, so a harder compound. 50 laps on the board. Mazepin, 124.5. Stroll this afternoon, sorry, but Mazepin, 124.5 C2 tyre, 20 laps. Kubica, 125.9 was in the Alfa Romeo this morning. C3 tyre for him for that fastest lap. 9 laps in total. And Mick Schumacher in the Haas, a 126.879. He was on the C2 tyre. 8 laps on the board, still in the pits, I believe, with some issues with his floor that the team are trying to frantically repair. I'm going to take a punt here at the giggles, Stuart, that you might have found something on Fernando Alonso being electrocuted.
It wasn't a recent thing. It was his crash that he had in the McLaren Honda back in. I think McLaren Honda's. Do you remember when Honda came in and Alonso had that crash and he had to sit out the first race? I think there was a rumor that he got electrocuted back then. Is all I could find. So nothing today.
Yeah, of course, because didn't Stoffel fill in from in Bahrain and got a point?
Yes, of course he did, because he's Stoffel.
It took an hour. It took an hour to get to Stoff. I was slacking. It's not good enough.
So interesting thing I'm taking away from all that stuff you just read out, not the lap times, but we've now got 7 teams have crossed the 100 laps barrier. Just McLaren, Alfa Romeo and Haas underneath, with McLaren looking like they'll probably cross that possibly today. Yeah, we had 4 teams across the 100 barrier when we started talking, and now an hour later, AlphaTauri, Alpine and Aston have now clocked that much. So a really solid first day of testing, honestly. Considering sometimes we'll turn up first day of testing and we'll have a bunch of teams stuck in the garage half the day.
Yeah, and no red flags either. And I know that obviously this, the power units are what they are. They've not going to change, are they? So I know Alpine have gone with power rather than reliability, apparently, which is fair enough because they can. I think the reason behind that is because they can put reliability upgrades on, can't they? They just can't put performance upgrades on. So if you've got a powerful, brilliant power unit, then that's fine. If it keeps blowing itself up, then you can fix that even with the engine freeze, can't you? So it's not too bad for them. That's how I understand it. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but that's how I understood it. But I think because this is more about aero, the reliability isn't really what we're looking at. Somebody will cause a red flag. It's a guarantee. If not in Barcelona, it will happen in Bahrain, absolutely. And I cannot help getting the urge to say Barcelona like David Tennant when he regenerated from Christopher Eccleston in Doctor Who. I'm sorry, it's all over here in my head when I say Barcelona is that. How many years ago was that? Too many. Get over it, Sean, for goodness sake. So yeah, Norris top of the timesheets. Lots of laps. Yuki Tsunoda's done 105 laps. Norris needs 10 more in the next half an hour to go through the 100 as well. There are only 30 minutes to go, or less than 30 minutes to go. What I'll try and remember to do tomorrow, by the way, even though we're only here for a sort of just 2 hours-ish, I'll try and put a timer on so you can see how many minutes are left, but I'm not going to do it now in case I crash my PC or do something stupid, which is highly probable. So yeah, just under half an hour to go on the clock for the first shakedown test, pre-testing test, shakedown testing test.
Perfect. Nailed it.
That's one hell of a hashtag.
Do you want a Chris Medland tweet?
Oh, we always want a Chris Medland tweet.
It's interesting. I don't know what this will mean for the season ahead. Okay, here we go. One thing that was unusual trackside was the McLaren sparking from the floor. It surprised Leclerc. Most cars aren't running that low yet, and with less rake, we haven't seen any sparks today so far. I just think that's interesting. I wonder what, in general, for sparks we're going to see over the season, because obviously the cars are much flatter to the ground than they have been. We used to see those cars with the big old rakes, high at the back, low at the front, and the front end of the floor would smack into the ground as the cars sort of compressed with downforce. But maybe we won't see that, because you don't want the floor hitting the ground, because you need a nice little bit of space to have those vents. But I'd be interested to see whether we're going to see more sparks, how low the cars are going to get over the course of this first 3 days of testing. But there you go. No sparks so far, apart from the McLaren.
Mick Schumacher back out on track, did a 1:23.009 on the C3s and has moved up to 12th place. So he's back out there, which is good news. So have they still got the titanium skid blocks then? Might they've got rid of those? No, they kept them. Okay. That's something to keep an eye on. I never even thought about sparks, but I suppose you're right. Yeah, you're not want to be banging the floor too much, are you? I was just thinking then about rake. It just came to me when you were talking about that. Then obviously it's part of it, isn't it? Do you think? How hard do you think this lack of rake or no rake we're going to see this year is going to hit teams like Red Bull, who usually are practically vertical at times at some tracks, versus sort of Mercedes and co, who have just never really had much rake at all in comparison? Is it just there's that much of a change in the regulations? It's probably not really going to make any difference to how they go about things, if any of that makes sense. Probably not.
I mean, it's very hard to say at this stage. I think it just generally comes into line with the general themes of 2022, in that clean sheet of paper, everyone's designing the entire concept of their car from scratch. They're not evolving lessons they learned before for the most part. So I think they're thinking about rake in an entirely different way. I think you might have seen I think a lot of people actually made this little collage, but there were a lot of cars, all the cars side on, stacked on top of each other into one image. There was a lot of that going around this morning in testing, and I think the Alpine looked to be the most rakey, but even then, there wasn't that much to it, because I think you just said AlphaTauri, actually. Yeah, here we go. AlphaTauri's just a little bit higher at the rear than the others. So I think all the teams are just starting from scratch, and their whole aerodynamic concept from the front of the car to the back is something they're going to have to learn.
Someone just asked me on Twitter under a WTF1 video, Alex Stranger, they did a video in end of January about F1 conspiracy theories and Alonso getting electrocuted, and apparently just tagging me in that just to let me know that it is a conspiracy theory. So there you go. Thank you as well, Stuart, for sending me that tweet from Toby Gruner. Did you know the new Williams has got a hole in the side pods? More interesting tech stuff in the latest update over at their website. Can't say it. Over at their website. So yeah, have a look over on Twitter. Some holes in the side. I'll find a picture of that later for tomorrow's stream. So worth having a look on the Williams there. They might spot it on one of these pictures I've got. I've got about 50 images in the stream today, so I'll try and get even more tomorrow, which will be great as soon as Motorsport have updated their images. I'm sure they have already. So yeah, just some super chats as well to do super quickly. If it refreshes, it wants to refresh. There we go. Thank you to AC. Says it's the pre-season session, Sean. Thank you very much, mate. Elliot says, second year in a row you've mentioned Doctor Who on a testing stream, Sean. Barcelona was 2005. What do you think of the return of Russell T Davies? Thank you very much, mate, for your contribution there, your super chat. As for the return of RTD, I'm so happy. So happy. If you're not a Doctor Who fan, sorry, you've got 30 seconds of me talking about this very, very quickly. But the Christmas special, or the New Year special we saw with the Daleks, the potential of that episode was phenomenal, but it just reeked of Chibnall and was absolutely so poorly executed. I really didn't enjoy it as much as I thought it was. It was a good concept, pretty poor. That's the sort of story that Russell T Davies would absolutely nail. So can't wait to see him back. Gonna be honest though, Elliot, not so sure about the rumours, or keen on the rumours that David Tennant might come back to play a version of the Doctor. I need a Doctor Who channel. That's what I need. That's why we have the testing streams. Next week, pot noodles. No, there won't be because there's no testing. Anyway, thank you as well to Gary Myers. Thank you for all you do for the F1 community. Been watching F1 since 1919. Your expertise just adds to the enjoyment of the sport. Keep up the good work. I don't know about expertise, mate, but thank you so much. Just a fan chuntering away about the sport I love for some crazy reason. But yeah, 2 years before me, you started watching, actually, Gary. So around the same time, the 90s. What an era that was. Fantastic era of Formula One. So thank you very much for your super chats. Yeah, we'll not talk too much about Doctor Who. I'll not come to you for that, Dan. I don't know if you're a Doctor Who fan. Do you strike me as a Doctor Who fan? I just
Yeah, answer that question first. I'm interested.
Yeah, you do actually.
Well, when I was a kid, I watched David Tennant and Matt Smith, and that's about it.
A kid?
Yeah, sorry, yeah. Yeah, that's all I've got, I'm afraid. So, some time ago I was, if that helps.
Oh, God. I'm so old.
All right, well, Sean's spoken. It's just you and me, Dan.
Yeah, right. I didn't expect that response. Sorry.
Well, I can't remember how old I was. What was that? So...
Mid-30s?
Wow. Oh dear. No. Mid-20s, thanks. Say mid. Coming towards the end of the 20s. Yeah. Sorry, Stuart, I interrupted you there with my breakdown.
I don't know what I was going to say. I think I was trying to cover for you while you fell apart. I was going to ask, although it's not Doctor Who based, so I don't know if you're ready to move on.
I am now. Wasn't, but now Dan said that, I just want to go.
I was going to ask the both of you what you thought of the wheel covers now that they sort of exist in real life after seeing several dozen versions of them in concepts and renders. Now that they're on the cars, what do you actually think of them? Because I think they're a bit controversial.
Just say that again, sorry, Stuart. You cut out for me. I think I pressed the wrong button. I muted you in my ear instead of a mic.
I was asking what you thought of the wheel covers now that we're seeing the final version of them out and about in real life. Yeah, the real ones. What do you guys think of those?
I'm surprised at the fact I really like them. I wasn't keen on them on the show car, but I think they actually look really quite smart. And I think if they do the job that they're supposed to do to improve the racing as well, then that's even better. But I do kind of wish a few more teams had done, and I know it's only paint, it doesn't matter, but done a bit more of what Ferrari had done with the flashes of yellow on the side of them. I think they look absolutely fantastic, and I'd like to see more of that. But I actually, yeah, I'm surprised at how much I like them.
I'm with you. I think they look great. I when they first announced them, I thought they were cool. So that hasn't really changed, to be honest. I'm with you, Sean, that I wish more teams were a bit more exciting with them. I think the McLaren's one, similar to the Ferrari, where they got a flash of orange instead. Yeah, I think they're a lot of fun. I like little things like that, little quirky things to add to the car. So yeah, I don't know why people are complaining.
I was definitely expecting more colours. Most of them, well, all of them have gone with the black, and a couple of them have gone with some little flashes. But I was expecting a bit more variation, the way that the spokes had colour variation between the cars. Maybe they'll play with them as the season goes on. But yeah, I'm expecting a little bit more. I do agree with some people who say they look like those kind of temporary spare tyres you get. But I think if they weren't all black, they would look a bit flashier.
I just look at pictures now, like, yeah. So you're a big fan of the 18-inch rims as well, the wheels? I know there's some concerns about visibility, isn't there? I think the Williams boys said that they were a bit concerned after the shakedown, but it was raining as well, so visibility was not great anyway. But yeah, I think 18-inch rims on the F2 car, I wasn't a big fan of them when they were running them in testing on the 2021 car. Thought they looked a little bit out of place, but with all the aero in place now, they just fit beautifully, don't they?
I think they really work, and they're not dramatically different. I think maybe because the overall size is a bit bigger, so the actual what would you call it? The width of rubber the sidewall itself still has some sort of thickness to it. I think they look nice. I think they look good on the cars. I think those fins around the front wheels look nice as well. I think the whole package is lovely. I'm wondering if we might be getting to the time when we need to make a sort of regulation to prop the driver up a little bit more, maybe if they're struggling to see, because I know how bad visibility was anyway. So I don't know. Maybe we need to sort of give them a bit more room to see things. I don't know. I'm not a driver. I know they get used to these things.
I mean, the only thing I'll say about that is if they prop the drivers up more, are we going to have to then? Is the halo going to need to be adjusted?
Well, yeah, there is that, isn't there?
I think there'd have to be a case of. I went to the theatre when I was in London. I'm going somewhere, I promise. This is just a random one. Went to the theatre when I was in London to see The Lion King. If you haven't seen it, freaking brilliant. You have to go see it. And they offered people booster cushions. Children, booster cushions, in case you got sat behind anyone tall at the theatre. So I don't think it'll be a case of an equivalent for F1, would it, of sticking a booster cushion underneath? Because they'd probably have to adjust the halo, is what I'm saying, to go. Because the head, I mean, the halo, I think needs to be a little bit higher anyway. But yeah.
For clarity on that, by the way, did you need a booster seat?
No, I did not. I just stood up. 15 minutes. Oh, Dan, you're awful to me. 15 minutes to go in the first test session of 2022. Stroll, Verstappen, Tsunoda, Sainz, they're all out there getting some more data for the teams. Schumacher's back in the pits. Verstappen's up on 152 laps. That's impressive stuff for today. He's been in all day, of course. Norris on 90 laps, actually, at the top of the timesheet. So keep an eye on what's going out on track via all the text blogs and things like that. No footage, of course. Footage for the Bahrain test, if you're interested, by the way. That is going to happen. Stroll has just gone ahead of Latifi with a 1:23.3. That's put him 13th fastest. Alonso's out there as well on track. Okay, so in case you missed it earlier, there was on the timing screens, Ocon was out there, but Ocon wasn't out there. It was Alonso, and apparently it was a transponder issue, which caused the problems there. So 115 is what his count is, but Autosport just saying not quite sure if that's right or not because of the transponder issues, but around there. So keep an eye on that one. Interesting stuff. Lots of cars will be out there now for the last 15 minutes. I'm not expecting. Sometimes when we get to the end of a day, we see some pretty pacey lap times, don't we, Dan? But I don't think we'll be seeing anything like that today. I think that's going to be left till very last minute. And actually, just before I come to you, Dan, sorry, it's just dawned on me as well, just to mention that a lot of the experts that are there and the journalists are there saying that, generally speaking, these cars that we're seeing right now on track are going to be different again come Bahrain, as we pretty much knew. And so we can read little into this other than we've got cars on track, which is quite exciting. So expect a raft of updates before Bahrain, then probably a raft of updates before Bahrain again, because they don't want the FIA to see their hand. Basically.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. I mean, we still don't even know what the Alfa Romeo looks like. So not a joke, the fact we can't see the car, the fact that the camo generally hides a lot of things. But yeah, I think the rest of this session, I would love someone to just put in a stonker of a lap time, just to show not the full potential, but to get that headline of the first day of the new regulation of cars being top. I just wonder, like I always do every year, and it never pans out, but I just wonder if someone like a Williams or a Haas, someone who was a bit further back over the last couple of years, just sends it. I'd put on the C1 tyres, just give it a go. Or is it C1 or C5?
I was going to say it's C5, Dan. Come on.
Yeah. Well, hey, if they did a C1 and went to the top, that would be a storyline. So exactly. But no, I think it'll be a quiet end to the session. I think you've jinxed a red flag enough that it might come true in the last 10 minutes. But yeah, I think quiet end now. Most teams have got their running. Maybe Haas will go for a couple more. But today, the main thing was about focusing on just making sure every driver that's running today gets a few laps in, gets a feel for the car, no crazy issues, no ending with trips to the gravel or in the wall, as little as that as possible, please. And most of them have achieved that. So yeah, I think quiet 10 minutes to end the day.
You say quiet, and I say no fast lap times. Lando Norris has just knocked 0.4 seconds, 0.4 of a second, off his fastest time and done a 1:19.5.
Okay, let me change my answer.
No.
Hey, I want them to do quick laps. That'd be great. So, more, please.
Sorry, I was reading a comment in chat and it's just reset itself and I can't find it. That's just completely thrown me off now. So I'll go with Raul. Says, imagine if a Haas goes 70% pace, goes to the top of F1 social, we'll lose it. Yeah, 70% pace here and then goes and smashes it in Bahrain. That would be quite funny. I'm not expecting a Brawn 2009 style upset in that somebody from the back is going to launch themselves to the front, but I want to see it. I'd love to get to Bahrain in the running order be something like Haas, Williams, Alfa Romeo. That would be absolutely amazing, but I'm not expecting it. But you never know. They've been working on it quite a bit. Is the testing broadcasted? Nope, not broadcasted, but it will be for Bahrain. So nothing here at the moment. Which is interesting because I saw some people saying that they've not even got the cameras there, but Formula One seem to be showing footage on their socials, so kind of a shame.
I think they've got a few camera people out there,
yeah,
but they haven't got the full track camera setup with all the cameras in the track positions. Is what I think.
I think even just stick a camera, maybe 3 corners and move them round for the afternoon, just so people can see the cars going round would be something. But I suppose if you're doing that, you might as well just televise and then get lots of cameras there, hadn't you, really? But yeah, I mean, we know why, don't we? We know why. It's because Bahrain have paid a fortune to host it. So there you go. Tonka Toy Truck says subscribe. Yes, please do subscribe if you're new to the channel. We're here tomorrow afternoon and on Friday as well for a couple of hours, and then videos and streams and that between now and that second test. Will be live for the second test as well for the full days, so that'll be fun. Watch some TV together. I need to get a TV in my office. Hang on, I might have to watch it on Sky Go, Stuart. We might actually be synced up for a change.
Oh, thank God.
Rather than me spoiling everything for you as I normally do. Please do drop a like as well. Charles Edward Cheese, $500 donation earlier in the stream. Thank you very much. I wanted over 500 likes for him. We've got 570, 2,100 watching. Let's see if we can get that up to sort of 750, if not higher. If we could hit 1,000, that'd be amazing, but I don't ever expect that. So thank you as well to Ashish, who says, hi Stuart, what do you plan to do with the launch surveys and when will we get to see it? Love your work and a huge fan.
Oh, well, Ashish, they clearly haven't watched my predictions challenge video because I'm using those launch surveys to for people like Sean and Dan, as well as Hazel and Jonty, who made some predictions about how well each new livery will be received. So I've been carefully surveying you all on how well those and how good those liveries look at launch, and we'll find out. I actually don't know. I haven't looked at what you've put at all, so we'll find out at the end of the year which car was seen to be the best, and we still haven't seen the Alfa Romeo. So yeah, that's what those surveys are for. So you'll see that in December.
Alex Shook has just blown my mind. Says, come on, George, 77 laps. You didn't have to do that. He did 77 laps this morning, did George Russell? You just couldn't make it up, could you? Takes Bottas's seat, post 77 laps at the test. Thanks, George. Thank you as well to Alex for your super chat. Thank you to all your super chats, for all of your super chats today. Always appreciated the support of the channel. Schumacher is back out there for some more laps. Still no update to the timing since Norris did his 1:19.5. 7 minutes or less than 7 minutes to go now. So it's not going to get frantic, but we should start to see. I don't think we see times tumble at all, are we, really? But I'll keep an eye on that. Why not? I'll come to you guys in chat, and then we'll round things up when we get the checkered flag. It wouldn't be testing streams without daft questions. Dan says, if you had to wear one of the front wings as a mustache, which one would it be?
I think Dan's best place to answer that.
Yeah,
he
go
should
on,
be
Dan.
getting a moustache soon.
My initial thought goes to the Ferrari because it's fully black and it's not got much sponsors on it. I don't know how I'd feel about having a sponsored mustache. So I'm going to go with Ferrari, but also I feel the camo Alfa Romeo could look quite good as well. So they're my two answers.
There you go. Dan, not a fan of sponsors of front wings if you're going to wear them as a mustache. Who had that on the bingo card for testing streams? There you go. A couple of people agree with you, actually, funnily enough. So there you go. I just don't know what to say to that. I really, really don't. I'll say the Ferrari one as well. Why not? Why not?
Boring. I could see you with an Alpine BWT one.
Yeah.
Why specifically that one? Or are you just being you?
No, I'm on Instagram because I thought, oh my god, I'm gonna have to look at all the front wings, and just saw the pink one, so that's why.
I mean, the Williams one that's on the stream now. I mean, that's nice and plain. Could have that.
Yeah, I was
one.
going to pick that one. It's closest to the Waluigi stash, I think. As you know, I aspire to the great man, so I think that's what I'd go with.
I've missed you two so much. I'll tell you what then. Chat can get involved as well, and I'll read a few out while we're waiting for the checkered flag for 5 minutes. Out of all of the cars we've seen, livery, design, seeing them now out on track, which one is your overall favourite package? Because you've been a brat today so far, I'll come to you first, Dan. That on the spot question.
No. So you say that, but I feel like I could steal Ferrari here, and then you two have to come up with a different answer because that's the rules. Overall package. So livery and design of the car. Is that what we're going for?
Everything in, all in.
Then it does have to be Ferrari. I'm sorry. I don't think it's my favourite livery. I think it is McLaren, then Ferrari. But that car is just the nicest looking thing. I like how aggressive Red Bull have gone, but there's something special about that car. Seems to be quick as well, so I'm stealing Ferrari. So don't pick the same answer as me, or else you're boring.
Well, I can't backtrack on Ferrari, can I?
You can.
That's
You can go first.
If I had to pick one that wasn't Ferrari, Aston Martin for me. I think that's a very nice car. Nice livery. Thank God they've got rid of that pink. It actually stands out on track. Love the colour. Love the design. Yeah, Aston Martin for me. After Ferrari.
Yeah, I think we all agree the Ferrari was something special. I quite like the AlphaTauri, actually. I like I like what they've done with the livery this year. I like the sort of aggressive shape of it. The strange back end. I thought that was until that Ferrari came along. That was the one I was excited about. And again, they actually showed us the car, a real car, which some people did not, and they get marked down for that.
It's got a nice look from the side of it, hasn't it? The AlphaTauri. Stick at the front.
It's definitely one of those cars that you'd stick on a poster and put on your wall if that was a thing that I don't know if you can get those anymore. But it does pass the poster test.
Yes. The poster of that Ferrari. If I can get a poster of that Ferrari, it's going on my wall.
There you go.
Just too good.
But you're in your 30s now, though, so it'll go in a frame and everything.
Oh, yeah, I'll get framed. Otherwise, I'll look like a teenager. I've already put my Westlife pictures in a frame, so... Why I went with Westlife, I have no idea. Suji, save me. Thank you very much for your super chat. Says the Alpha is wearing Chase Carey's mustache. Thank you very much for that. I've already super chats today. I've seen a couple of people in chat saying Schumacher's in the gravel. No confirmation on Twitter or anything just yet, so I'll keep an eye out.
Look at the race Twitter. If you want to see Mick in the gravel.
Do I want to see Mick in the gravel? Maybe I do.
Just fix the floor, straight into the gravel. Nice work.
Oh, okay, yeah. I'm with it, yeah. So he's still out there, though, isn't he? So, yeah. It looks like Norris is going to hit the 100 as well, which is fantastic. Thank you again to, I don't know, just changing my name. Says Norris for champion confirmed. I hope so. Serious question. Do you think all teams will at least score points this year? Yes, sorry. Thank you very much. Do we think all teams are going to score points this year? I tell you what, actually, I'm going to throw it to you first, Stuart, and then Dan, you can answer afterwards, mate. I'm just going to nip off for 1 minute and get ready to run through this final order. So, do we think all teams are going to score points this year? And just for the record, I'll say yes. There you go.
Which one of us did he say to go first? Shall I go? I'll go.
Yeah, sure, send it.
I think it's a good chance, based entirely on no information at all. Okay, so on one end of things, I think there is that very real worry that, all the cars are in different directions. They're learning this whole new suite of rules, and the gap between the best and the worst could be enormous, which means the worst team could be struggling more to get into the points. Having said that, I think because we got a difference between how these cars might perform on like the high speed tracks and the slow speed tracks, maybe we'll get a bit more of a jumble from race to race. So I'm gonna put my, whatever you call it, cards on the table, whatever the phrase is. I'm gonna say yes. I think all teams will score points this year. Everyone will have the opportunity, even if it's a very small amount of points.
Yeah, I feel like I'm the same as you. I'm almost split because my head's like, well, yeah, just because one team can get it bang on with the regulations, there's surely got to be one that absolutely messes it up and is miles at the back. But just while you were talking then, I was thinking, well, Manor scored points and some pretty terrible Williams car scored points. But then Haas didn't this year. Did Sauber one of the years not score points? Or I'm pretty sure even Verline and Ericsson scored points in that shocking season in 2017, I want to say. So, yeah, if the cars are much closer this year and can actually race, fingers crossed that means there's a few more crashes and wheel bangings and not necessarily safety cars, but causes a bit more drama with strategy. Hopefully it means there's not as big a gaps between the cars. So undercut's going to be, fingers crossed, a bit more powerful. Hopefully strategy just by itself is going to be more exciting this year with the new cars. So yeah, I'm going to be optimistic and say yes. My heart definitely says yes, all 10 teams will, because I would hate it if Haas or Williams didn't. I would hate it if one of those teams at the back from the last couple of years didn't manage to move forward. But then I can't see your likes of your Astons, your Alpines, or any of the front guys not scoring points either. So, yeah, why not? I think that'd be quite fun. And I'm with you. The amount of races we have this year, bit more chaos. Hopefully, with the variation of tracks, variation of the different cars. Yeah, sure. Why not? Is he still not back?
I was still not. I didn't need to get my Zimmer frame out or anything.
Thought the arthritis might be kicking in, mate.
Not quite.
Can I just very quickly, just the last thing on that, the whole point. I found this very interesting. I think about this sometimes, how we still get teams who are struggling to get points in the whole season with 22, 23 races. And you go back to when Minardi were in the sport, Minardi who became Toro Rosso, who became AlphaTauri, it was touch and go every season whether they'd get a point. But we were talking 16, 17 races max, and points only went down to 6th. So it's quite wild, actually, that we've got teams who are struggling to get points because they only need to get 10th and they've got 20-something opportunities to get it. Whereas, old perennial Minardi, who was spending a $5 on the whole year, would still manage to get a 6th place probably once a year. So I think it's interesting that how that race for getting us a handful of points has changed.
Oh, Luca Padoa, Nürburgring 1999, so close to 4th place.
Never forget it.
Oh, devastated, wasn't he? Bless him.
In that colour car. Let's get one of those colour cars back again. The
silver and blue.
Was it I think it was silver and blue. Then I mean the next year when it was like puke coloured, that kind of like radioactive yellow-green colour. Let's get that.
What colour's your car, Minardi? Well, it was blue, but then someone had acid reflux all over it. Disgusting car. Checkered flag is out. Day one of this testing thing is done and dusted. Over 1,000 laps today have been completed, apparently. No red flags either, so it's not really been one of those days or sessions that's absolutely packed with drama, which is nice. Maybe the same with the drama for Bahrain when we can actually watch it. Why not? Nobody out there is putting in competitive lap times. Really, none of this is representative, of course, at all. But I will read through the final times of the day. Tyres and laps and all of that business. So Lando Norris tops the first day in Barcelona with a 119.568 in his McLaren on the C4 tyre. He did that fastest lap on, and a total of 103 laps come the flag. So plenty of laps from him. Charles Leclerc finishes the day in second place from his morning stint, 120.165 C3 for that lap time, 80 laps in total. Carlos Sainz did 67 laps, so Ferrari over the 100 as well today at 120.416. That was on the C3. Russell, 77 laps, as I've already said, 120.7 C3 tyre for that lap as well. Lewis Hamilton in fifth place, 50 laps this afternoon, C3 tyre, and did a 120.929 with that tyre. Again, Mercedes over the 100. Vettel in the Aston Martin, 121.276. That was on the C3 tyre, 52 laps on the board for him. Yuki Tsunoda, AlphaTauri, 121.638 again on the C3 tyre, 115 laps, 121 laps for Fernando Esteban Ocon Alonso, or just Fernando Alonso as he prefers to be known, 121.746. That was on the C2 tyre. Verstappen, 147. Is his final tally for the day. 122.246. That was set on the C2 tyre, and Bottas rounds out your top 10 in the Alfa Romeo on a 122.572. That was on the C3 tyre, and a total of 23 laps. He was just in for the afternoon, of course. And then behind them, we've got Alex Albon, a 122.7. That was on the C3 tyre, 66 laps. Mick Schumacher in the Haas, 122.9. C3 tyre, 23 laps for him. 67 laps for Stroll, 123.327 on the C2 tyre. C3 tyre for Latifi to do a 123.379 with 66 laps. Nikita Mazepin, 124.505 on the C2 tyre, and that was 20 laps. And Robert Kubica, 125.909. That was on the C3 tyre, and just 9 laps for him. Really the talking points of the day, I guess. If you want some drama, Mick Schumacher trip across the gravel, but before that he had to have his floor repaired by Haas, so lost some time. Max Verstappen this morning did take to the gravel as well, but was able to carry on, no worries there. Lewis Hamilton had a front suspension change, if you want to call that dramatic or anything like that one. So no, not really all that dramatic, just part of testing. Yeah, not a huge amount there to talk about in terms of big action or big talking points on that, I suppose. No red flags either. And just checking here with Autosport. So Ricciardo, Ocon, Gasly, Perez and Zhou are yet to drive. So we should see them tomorrow. So there you go. Norris fastest, Charles Leclerc second, and Carlos Sainz in third place. Lots of teams over the century. Lots of sandbagging going on. In fact, I'd imagine most of these cars are dragging a beach around with them. We're not seeing anything here. Not much we can take from it all, of course, Stuart. But anything you've learnt today that's got you quite excited for the season, or are you just, like me, just really happy to see the cars out there again?
Yeah, I mean, the most you could learn is by sort of like paying attention to the Twitter feeds or some of the articles that come out from people who are actually there and able to make some judgments based on how they're seeing the cars moving. So for the moment, I'm just enjoying seeing them out there. Very glad reliability seems to be good so far. Yeah, I just generally quite excited. I think I'm going to end up reading a lot of information and watching Ted Kravitz, and come back tomorrow for tomorrow's stream armed with more information about what we've learned, because right now looking at static pictures only tells you so much.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. Everyone tune in for tomorrow's stream. Like Stuart said, they'll have a lot more information. Ted's back tonight. Oh, that's the one good thing about when they don't broadcast testing, is at least we get Ted's notebook. And I can't wait to see how he tries to demonstrate these ground effect cars with a London bus and a courgette or something. I can't wait to see how he manages to pull that one off. Anyway, Dan, anything you've learned from today or got you excited for the coming I mean, you're always excited, to be fair, or seem to be. So
yeah, exactly. Just the launches themselves were enough for me. I think just Stuart's right in that I think we'll find out more this evening than we have today, just when analysis starts coming out. Ted's notebook, of course, but F1 will start posting a few things as well. Drivers' interviews will come out, so I'm looking forward to that. But today, in general, I think the fact that all 10 teams showed up which hasn't always happened the last few years. Most of them got a solid bit of running in, most of them getting over 100 laps. That's exciting in itself. It seems like none of them are miles off the pace, even though today you cannot read into it whatsoever. But the fact they've all made it, the fact that the season has started, yeah, you know me, that's enough to get me excited.
I like it. And I think we should be excited for this year. Whatever happens, it's a whole new era. And I think whilst I'm pessimistic about how close the field will be come Bahrain, because I think you often get a team or two that absolutely smash it, don't you, with the regulations when they're new and sort of build a bit of a gap and you get a bit of field spread. I think we've said before, haven't we, Stuart, for the long term, these regulations are good for the sport. Maybe in the short term, we will see some field spread. We might not. We'll find out in a few months' time when we've had a few races, but we might get a bit of field spread. But ultimately, this is going to help Formula One be more... Is sustainable the word I'm looking for? Going forward, you know, teams are going to have more of a chance of surviving with this cost cap and with the way they're doing things. So I think it's good for the future F1, whatever happens. But I'm still excited. I'm still very, very excited by it all, and I do get excited by the lap time. I know I shouldn't look at that from Norris and go, "Hey, champion confirmed," because it's just not going to happen, is it? But yeah, 103 laps. I think you said, didn't you, Stuart? Everyone pretty much over 100 in terms of the teams today, except for Alfa Romeo and Haas. Just a quick. Yeah, so 8 teams over 100 laps today.
Yeah, they just had a few gremlins. They didn't seem to have like massive dramas. So I imagine both those teams, fingers crossed, will be crossing that, or at least being somewhat in the range of 100 laps tomorrow. So yeah, I think everything looks pretty good. And like you say, cost cap should keep these teams afloat and not, you know, in a state of panic constantly, and they can actually focus on developing the car rather than getting to the next race. So I'm feeling positive about F1. I really am.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes in the coming years. If you've got any questions, by the way, throw them in the chat. We'll use the last 20 minutes to answer questions about the day and anything else you've got on F1. So please do pop your questions in there. No stoppages today, as I've already said. Max and Mick in the gravel at varying times of the day. And apparently they're out there now doing some practice starts. So that's absolutely good stuff. There's still action out there. We just go watch it. It's just a practice start. So there you go. Prediction to the 10th. What will be the fastest lap time at the end of the shakedown? That's from Raoul. I think we did this last year, didn't we? Fastest time at the end of the shakedown. What have we had today? 1:19.5. Ah, right. Now you've got now you've done it. That's it now.
This is good.
I need to go and find a couple of things out super quickly.
No, you can't look at last year's times, day one. And
I'm not looking at testing.
You definitely are.
So pole time last year was a 1:16.741. Fastest time today a 1:19.568. I'll take the first punt so I don't steal one of your answers as I usually do. Although Dan will just take mine anyway, so whatever. I'm gonna say a 1:17.2. What do you reckon, Dan?
I wasn't
near a 17.2.
I was gonna go 17.9. Was my initial thought. Have I stole yours, Stuart?
That's fine. I'll. I think 117's a good shout. I think high end rather than low end, Sean. 117.7. I'll be slightly more optimistic than if that counts as optimistic. Yeah, 117.7.
Clearly, I'm an idiot. Go with the 17.2.
We don't know.
Jonty says an 18.2. Pixel Flow says a 17.8. Jordan says an 18.1. Max says a 17.8. Butter says 17.6. In 2021, cars did a 1:15.1, according to Grandmaster Yoda, and he would know. Yeah, there you go. Fair enough.
You'll have to DM me because I'm not on the Friday stream, so you're gonna have to let me know.
I will, yeah. Pixel Flow's just written it down for me there, so I'm going to copy and paste it out of chat so I've got it for later, or if I can do that. Yeah. 16.9 for Dan Philpott, 15.8 is a bold one. 17.6, 15.9. 16.9. Yeah. So people going more ambitious than me and less ambitious than me. Yeah, there you go. Did anyone crash today? That's from Limits. Nobody's crashed today. Max Verstappen took to the gravel, as did Mick Schumacher at one point, but both fine. Matt Woodburn, interesting question. Says floor damage on the Haas, is that a sign of regular problems this season? We sort of touched on it, didn't we, Stuart? You were saying that, you know, these cars are low to the ground, teams are going to avoid that contact, but you find somewhere, I don't think it's really bumpy. A track that's really bumpy. Oh, I can't think of it.
Brazil still bumpy?
Brazil's quite bumpy, isn't it? Yeah. So somewhere like that, or if they haven't sorted out the bumps at the Circuit of the Americas, it could cause some problems those weekend. But I mean, it could be an issue over the course of the season. But I'd like to think that teams have factored that in for most of the smoother tracks. I mean, you're always going to get your bumpier tracks that you can't really plan the rest of your car around, can you? It's 1 or 2 races a season, but I'm sure there's things they can do in setup as well to avoid it, or try to avoid it.
Yeah, they can always lift the car up a bit.
Yeah.
But these are notably stiffer cars, so they are going to, clang across those bumps much more than they were. I mean, they were not soft cars before. I mean, F1 cars are stiff anyway, but yeah, in terms of F1 speak, they were much softer last year than they're going to be this year. These cars are going to try and stay as stable as possible.
You've got to think as well the sausage curbs, but also what do they call them? The razor curbs, like we see in Austria. They could cause a lot of problems. So probably those more than the tracks I'd be concerned about. But it's definitely something to keep an eye on. I don't think we'll have too many problems in Bahrain, but somewhere like Imola could cause some problems. Yeah, keep an eye on it, definitely. Will George actually be able to beat Lewis? I should say aloud, says individual 1. I mean, he'll be allowed to. Whether or not he will, I'd be surprised if he does it in his first season. Definitely. Yeah. What do you reckon, Dan? Do you reckon he could do it this year, George? I mean, I think he'll be allowed to. I'm just not sure he's going to have... He's a quick lad, isn't he, George? But I'm not sure he's going to have it to do that to Lewis in his first year. And if we kind of have if Hamilton's involved in a title fight, let's say, and George is far enough back, then they're going to pull rank on him, aren't they, and have him as the number 2 if they need to. But I can't see it in season 1.
Like you, I'm unsure. I don't want to say I'm more optimistic because that's the wrong word to use, but I wouldn't say never. I think there is a chance it could happen. Obviously, I'm going to go with Lewis Hamilton being the favourite of the 2 to come out on top. But Hamilton did it to Alonso in his first season, and I don't think anyone ever expected that. I think I always mention it, but I think it is a great point that George jumped into that car in Sakhir and almost out-qualified Bottas, definitely outraced him. And when you consider how close at times Valtteri was to Lewis, I think that's a good sign. But of course, Hamilton will be the favourite. He's used to that team. I think he's going to be used to regulation changes. He's going to know the team inside and out. He's going to know what he's doing straight from the off. Whereas to George, though he's been part of this team loosely through the young driver program, most of it will still be new to him. And I think that added pressure of being in that fight at the front, they will hope being at that fight in the front, that's going to take time to get used to, but also being the teammate of Lewis Hamilton is going to take some time to get used to. So by the end of the year, I can see them being very close on pace. I think George has that potential. Lewis is, I think it's safe to say, coming to the twilight of his career now anyway. So I wouldn't say never, but Hamilton will definitely be the preferred choice to come out on top.
I know I wanted to ask. It's just come to me. I've been thinking about it for an hour and it's finally smacked me in the face again. That's an age thing, Dan, by the way.
I know.
You'll get to a point, mate, where you'll walk in a room and you'll have no idea why you went in there. But you'll probably remember when you're in the shower and then forget by the time you get out. This week, confirmed in the regulations, they've made tweaks to the regulations. We'll go through that over the course of the next couple of days. And, of course, when we get to Bahrain as well, go through it properly. But one thing I've seen removed, which I'm very, very happy about, Stuart, I've been banging on about this for long enough. We've lost that Q2 tyre rule for 2022.
Yes.
So we, if you are newish to F1 and don't know, top 10, if they get through into Q3, they have to start the race, or they used to have to start the race on the tyre they set their fastest time with in Q2. And that basically meant that you had teams like Mercedes and Red Bull going for harder tyres, like the mediums, for example, so that they could have a better strategy for the race. But it meant that as the field spread, you had a couple of dominant teams like in Red Bull and Mercedes. They just sort of, it didn't have the effect. The idea was that it was supposed to mix up the top 10 a bit and give some in the midfield an opportunity because the top teams were using harder tyres, but because the gap was so big, it just didn't work. We've got rid of it. This year, drivers, as we see with sprints, for example, will have free choice of start tyre on a Sunday, which is freaking fantastic news because we might actually get some variety, and it gives us a little bit to talk about and ponder between qualifying and the race, because we could say, imagine a situation where you've got, Leclerc on pole and Verstappen alongside, and, who's going to start the soft, who's going to start on the medium. It's just going to give us something to talk about. So I'm so pleased to see that rule gone. I'm guessing, Stuart, you agree based on your yes. But yeah, I think that needs to go a while ago. It didn't really have the desired effect in the end, did it? Certainly in recent years.
Yeah, I'm really glad for this, and I think having that ability to pick your tyre strategy freely on the race day will be really cool. And I think, getting the tyre blankets off the cars, there was always that moment where everyone would see what was happening from the 11th place down, who was picking what tyre. But now we're going to see it right up front. And again, we might have cars that have really good 1 lap pace, but will need to be more conservative with their tyre choices come in the race. So if they do get pole position, maybe they will have to pick a harder tyre and be more vulnerable to the cars around them. We'll have to see, but I am interested in seeing teams mix up the strategies. I know Formula One does tend to converge into the same answers, so the effects will not be like a big dramatic change, but I think we need to see it. And also, yeah, it did benefit the top teams and hinder the midfield teams anyway. So I think it's just cleaned things up as well, because it was a bit of a confusing rule anyway. It was the tyre from Q2 was the one that you started your race on. It was unnecessarily messy. So this is all a bit cleaner. So I'm glad for that.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. I mean, early in the season, I think I agree. We're going to see, if the medium is the best tyre to start on, most drivers are going to start on the medium. But if you get, when there's a championship on the line, for example, or we're getting towards the sharp end of a championship deciding season, that's when we're going to see people go different ways because they have to take a risk, or because they've qualified slightly out of position, or they're behind their title rival. They're going to go with the soft instead of the medium, and that'll spice things up quite nicely. So I'm really pleased we got rid of it. I don't think it was necessary, really, and it's just more fun to speculate on what type it might go to. It brings that, with the loss of refueling and things, strategy is still a big part of Formula One, and we still talk about it a lot, but it brings another element into that again, and so we can kind of speculate a bit more on strategy and have some fun with that, and some surprises might get thrown in. So I'm really pleased to see that rule gone. Would you like some stats?
Sure.
Why not? So 1,104 laps were completed today around the Barcelona circuit. That is a total of 5,161.2 kilometres, or if you would prefer that in miles, that's 3,207.12. The fastest time of the morning was a 1:20.165. That was set by Charles Leclerc. The fastest time in the afternoon and overall for the day was Lando Norris, a 1:19.568. And the team that completed the most laps was Ferrari with 153 in total. Red Bull weren't far behind on 147. Then we've got Williams on 132. Mercedes and Alpine both on 127 laps. Alpha Tauri 121. Aston Martin 119. 103 for McLaren. Only 43 for Haas and 32 for Alfa Romeo. So lots of laps today and lots of miles or kilometres, whatever you work in. So that is the key thing, of course, from testing. Lap times don't really matter all that much, really, but good to see some mileage out there. Just really hoping we get a few more from Haas and Alpha tomorrow, and I'm sure we will as the week goes on. So there you go, just some stats there. Why not?
Nice.
I know. I love a stat. You know I love a stat. And if you are just tuning in for a quick look at the times, so Norris was top of the times with Leclerc, Sainz, Russell and Hamilton behind. Vettel in 6th, Tsunoda 7th, Alonso 8th, Verstappen 9th and Bottas in 10th place for your top 10. 23 laps for Bottas, 147 for Verstappen, 127 for Alonso, 121 for Tsunoda. Don't know why I'm going backwards up the list, but I am. Vettel 52, Hamilton 50, Russell 77, Sainz 73, Leclerc 80 and Norris 103. So lots of stuff going on today. Anything you two would like to add? I'll keep an eye on chat whilst I'm asking that, see if anyone's asked a question that is absolutely sensational and must answer.
I got something.
Go on then.
This is my one negative about these cars. I think the DRS looks weird when it's open. It looks like a peeled back can of tuna. I think it looks really, I don't know. It looks wrong. Have you seen it? The open DRS.
I haven't, no.
It's bang on, by the way. That's exactly what it looks like.
Because it's not, there's no end plates. It's not attached to anything. It's just like this sort of, it's just like the wing has been sort of peeled, wrenched back. It's really weird. It's very odd.
See if I find a picture on Motorsport Images, see if there's anything there. I've not caught that today. You'll probably get a reaction in a minute as soon as I spot it.
I mean, it definitely looks much more open. I think just from the design of the wings, there's no end plates. It's easy to see. It does look like a big old hole. There's one of the Haas floating around, but yeah, it's. I don't know how many people in the comments, because the DRS was one of those big things that people weren't really sure what it would look like because it wasn't on the show car at all. They didn't bother putting it in, and that confused a lot of people because a lot of people thought, oh, there's not going to be any DRS, but it is. It's essentially just a section cut out of the top element and just flaps up. It's really weird.
Do you think DRS is here to stay? Because I know Ross Brawn said that it's a bit of a necessary evil, I guess is the phrase I'll go with, and that it's something that they have to keep just in case the regulations don't work as planned, but they might look to change that in future. Do you think it's here to stay? Do you think they'll just say that to keep people who don't like it happy for a bit or keep them quiet?
I think by here to stay, I think for at least the next few seasons, I think as sort of revolutionary as this whole year is, I don't think it's going to solve all of the problems, and it's not going to completely get rid of some of the following issues that we have. I don't think DRS is as bad as some people think it is. I think, and the good thing about it is it's tweakable. You can shorten sections. You can take sections away. Not every track needs to have 3 DRS zones that are both a mile long. You can just shrink them up a bit if they're too powerful. I know they get it wrong sometimes, but there is a way you can fiddle with it to make it kind of effective, but not a god killer. If you know what I mean. So I think it serves its purpose well for the moment, and I don't think we want to go back to the trouble we had before DRS, before we know we've actually solved it. But I think what we'll have the ability to do is to, if these cars over the next few years look like they're solving the problem, they can start taking away DRS zones, they can start shortening them up and reducing their potency, so we can sort of feel more confident about getting rid of them altogether should we get to that stage.
Well, that's horrific, isn't it? I found the picture. That's bloody awful.
It's very weird, isn't it?
I think you are right with your analogy. I'm just trying to think if it reminds me of something else, but I think you're right with the analogy. It does look like a half-open tin or something. That's horrible. How weird. I mean, we'll get used to it, won't we? We always get used to these things, but yeah, that is very odd. Yeah. All right, F1, fair dues. That is a weird one. So there we go. Yeah, hope you see some more of it. I get to try and get some pictures on the stream for tomorrow. See if we can find some. We'll talk about it a bit more then. But it was, definitely a weird thing. I suppose I've got to fit it in somewhere, and it sort of works. But it doesn't work at all. I know that sort of works. As long as it works as functionally, I suppose it doesn't really matter. Bryce says, one question no one asked and answered itself through launches was, how would pit crew deal with wheels around the wheel aero? I think that's something we're going to have to wait until we get some pit stop practice. I might actually have a scroll through while I'm watching Ted tonight, some of the B-roll new B-roll that the teams have released this week, and see if there's any pit stop practice in there to see how that makes a difference. But we might have to wait for Bahrain to see that one. DRD Nobody says, I would like a push to pass system like the old KERS. Yes, please. I know we have KERS through the MGUH and MGUK or whatever, all of that business, but I like the old KERS push to pass. I quite like that one. RC Richard says the front edge swoops up beyond horizontal. You can see there you go. So Fury says you can see the DRS in action on Red Bull's latest promo video. I'll have a look. That'll be in the B-roll then. See how it looks in action, if that makes sense. Armin says lap times don't matter. I'll pretend I didn't hear that. Obviously, Alonso up there in 8th place, so very happy with your man's day today. A couple more comments before we wrap it up today. KERS was awesome, says Vesk. Sean gets excited for B-roll. I do. If you watch, I'm sure not all of you do, but if there is anybody out there who watches literally every single one of my videos, you probably about 6 months into a season get sick of seeing the same shots of Lewis Hamilton sat in his car, or of the McLaren rounding a certain corner slowly at Silverstone. It's so nice when they get the fresh B-roll, because it just makes the videos feel a bit more up to date and a bit fresher as well. So that's why I get excited on that one. RC Ritter would actually prefer some active aero. Is that something we'll see a bit of this year? Active aero. They don't want that, do they? What am I thinking? I might not be thinking of F1. I might be thinking of something else. Probably am. But they are going to clamp down on anything they think is a bit dodgy, aren't they? The FIA this year. They've got the power to do that. So, I mean, do we think we get some protests in Bahrain after that first practice session or after qualifying or anything? I'd be surprised if there isn't some bitching and moaning about something on one of these cars. I'd be amazed, to be honest, Dan.
Yeah. I mean, even
Dan he's like, no, they will not.
No,
they will.
I mean, look, even the Red Bull design this morning, when we were talking about it earlier, I was thinking, I mean, the chances of that being legal are high, but there's no need to keep the cars legal at the moment. They don't actually have to do that. And you can already imagine today teams have been snooping around looking at each other's cars, just maybe considering protests if needs be, if they keep certain things. So yeah, there's no way it'll be happy families between these teams. No way.
No, there just isn't, is there? There's some concerns around flexing of the floors, so that's something that we need to keep. Well, I don't know if we'll spot it, but we'll have to keep an eye on this season. But the FIA have said they'll stamp that out pretty quickly, so we shall see. Is all I can say on that one. We'll wrap it up then for today. Thank you very much, Dan, for joining us. I know this is the only one you can do this week, but it was nice to have a good chat and great to see some cars out there on track finally.
Yeah, thanks for having me, buddy. I mean, it's been a funny day. It's weird to think the season started, but we've not seen much yet. So I'm hoping tonight we get loads of footage. I'm sure we won't. And then next week, real testing begins, and then racing, 3 weeks away? It's not that far. So, yeah, thanks for having me, buddy.
No worries, mate. And yeah, I'm just nice not to see renders, to be honest. It's nice to see actual cars out on track. Thank you very much as well, Stuart. I know you're with me for tomorrow afternoon as well for a couple of hours, but hopefully have a little bit more detailed analysis to discuss tomorrow rather than just going, oh, that looks pretty. Which is basically what today's been.
Yeah, we can get a chance to get a little bit techie. And talk a bit more about some of the designs in general, maybe. And yeah, we'll have some more idea of what the hell happened today, which will be very exciting. So yeah, I'll be back tomorrow for your late afternoon stream. But good to chat again. Good to see cars on track. The season's begun, right? We're here.
Yeah, we're less than a month away from the first race as well, aren't we? Is that the 20th? Yeah, it will be. Yeah.
Oh, here we go.
That gets you excited. Yeah, thank you very much, guys, and I'm sure I'll talk to you shortly.
Bye.
See you later.
Thanks to Dan. Thanks to Stuart as well. Just before I go, another quick run through for the times for anybody who's just getting in from work or anything like that and wanting to catch the times from the day. Obviously, can't read too much into them, but the laps are the ones that matter, so I'll fly through them for you now. So Lando Norris tops the first day on a 1:19.568. He set that on the C4 tyre and did a total of 103 laps. Charles Leclerc was second. He topped the morning session, but was second overall with a 1:20.165. He did that on the C3 tyre and did a total of 80 laps. Carlos Sainz, 1:20.4. 12416 C3 tyre, a total of 73 laps. It's amusing me now that it's been pointed out massively. 77 laps for George Russell, 120.784, and that was on the C3. Hamilton, a 120.929 C3 tyre for him, 50 laps as well. Sebastian Vettel in 6th place, 121.276 C3 and 52 laps. Yuki Tsunoda in all day for AlphaTauri, 121.638. He set that on the C3 tyre and did 121 laps overall. It was 127 laps for Fernando Alonso, 121.746. It's all numbers. C2 tyre for that lap. Max Verstappen, 122.246 C2 tyres, 147 for his laps. I feel like that was higher than that, but I'll double check that. But 147 is what he's down for. Valtteri Bottas, 122.572. He set that on a C3 tyre and did 23 laps overall. And the ones you can't see on there, Alex Albon, 122.7 in 11th place on the C3 tyre, 66 laps, 23 laps for Mick Schumacher, 122.962 on the C3. Lance Stroll's fastest time was set on the C2, and that's a 123.3, 67 laps. Nicholas Latifi, 123.379 C3 tyres, 66 laps. Nikita Mazepin, 124.5 C2 tyres, 20 laps. And Robert Kubica did 9 laps, a 125.909, and that was on the C3 tyres. And just in terms of, if you want to call them that, big dramatic moments, Max Verstappen had an off into the gravel but got going again. Mick Schumacher had to have some work done to his floor and then went out on track and put it straight in the gravel, but managed to continue. No red flags at all today. Not very eventful, but just great to see the cars out there. And again, don't read too much into the lap times, but definitely look at those laps that have been completed. Ferrari did the most, 153. Max Verstappen did the most individually on 147. So, yeah, busy day for the drivers out there. So, yes, thank you for joining me for this one. Please do leave a like before you disappear. We got well over 750 in the end. We are only 170 away from 1,000 likes, and there's still 1,800 people here. So if we could get that to 1,000 likes, I think that would be a short stream record. It wouldn't be a testing stream record, but I think it'll be a short stream record, if that makes sense. One of my shorter roundup streams. So let's see if we can do that. That would be absolutely awesome. Thank you as well for all your super chats too. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new. We'll be back tomorrow evening. Probably go live a little bit early, so we'll have more to talk about. Maybe about 3-ish, only half an hour, I know, but I mean, talk about some of the stuff there. I'll check with Stuart, see if that's okay. And of course, we'll be here for the times tomorrow. We'll be here again on Friday as well to do the same. Once again, rounding up these 3 days of testing. And don't worry, the proper testing streams, the real proper ones, where we are live for 8 hours a day, will be back for Bahrain when we've got some more information to discuss and some stuff to actually look at rather than just having to read text blogs and all of that business. So, yes. That will be fantastic. Looking forward to that tomorrow. Lots more to discuss. You can follow me over on social media as well. Thank you to Jonathan A, by the way, with the late super chat. Says super late to the stream. Love from the Lone Star State. Thank you very much, mate. I'll just check I've got everybody's in. Razor also said Kota was recently resurfaced. Source, I live nearby. Thank you very much, mate. And I don't know, just changed my name. Thank you for all your super chats tonight, dude. Says no information is the best information. Always appreciate the support you guys show to the channel. Like I say, you can follow me over on social media. Links in the description. Check out Dan's channel. I'm sure he's coming back. Check out Stuart's as well. Again, all the links down there are links to motorsport.com, Motorsport Images, and all the good stuff down there. I'm going to breathe. Take a breath, Sean. All of that reeled off like a YouTube pro idiot. Yeah. But as ever, thank you for watching. I've been Sean. This has been the F1 Word. And until tomorrow, goodbye.